We got Royce White in the house. How you doing?
I'm great, man.
You consider yourself to be a conservative or?
Man, that's an interesting question.
Because I go back and forth. I consider myself a Republican, but I'm more like moderate.
Those labels are so obsolete now.
Right. We used to be Democrat.
Yeah.
I voted for Clinton. I voted for Gore. I voted for Kerry. I remember standing in line. Vote for Kerry. I was like, look at all these white people living here. They try to bring racism. They try to bring the Klan back. I'm gonna vote because that's what they told me, and that's what I believe. And then I just start paying attention to both sides, and then I was like, man, the left is a scam. There's some little scams in the Republican Party, but a majority of the scams I would say is from the left. Like I'm MAGA for Gaza.
This could go viral for sure. Yeah, the earliest fathers of the Christian faith were Jews, and you can't discount that. You can't discount George Washington because he owned slaves.
Right.
I'm not doing it. So both things can be true at the same time.
So you said the NBA is ran by a bunch of Jewish people, huh?
Predominantly, the ownership is predominantly Jewish.
Yeah. How was it like playing in the NBA?
I didn't play.
Yeah, we got Royce White in the house. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me out.
My older brother turned me on to you months ago.
I appreciate it.
You and Stu Peters, yeah.
Yeah, Minnesota guy, Stu.
Yeah. Oh, both of y'all Minnesota guys, huh?
Yep. Stu from Minnesota. Yeah, I don't know if he's from Minnesota, but that's where he is.
So you being a Republican, you consider yourself to be a conservative or?
Man, that's an interesting question.
Because I go back and forth. I consider myself a Republican, but I'm more like moderate.
I mean, reality is, I don't even. Those labels are so obsolete now.
Right.
So like where I grew up in a black Catholic neighborhood in St. Paul. It's our capital in Minnesota. And I don't know, I blinked one day and I was 25 and all of a sudden Catholic Church or Christianity in general was like the enemy. And Catholicism specifically was like the enemy. And then, the LGBTQ just snuck up and became the most important thing in the world and in culture. So I was like, well, I have to be conservative. Like if you believe in anything Catholic or Christian, by default, you're conservative.
Yeah.
Now, how all of the conservatives get down on all of the issues, I have great disagreement on to where I'm like you. I'm like, I'm not rolling with these people on these certain issues.
Right.
And the Republican thing is like an even more watered down title. And when I ran, I was trying to kind of express to people what Republicanism, the idea, is really about. And that's something that people could more hopefully relate to and identify with. But the Republican Party, I mean, come on, that's a scam. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, come on.
Right.
Tom Cotton, give me a break.
Right. A lot of people don't understand it. Trump, he's a liberal because he believes in abortion up to 16 months. He's overall
16 weeks, not 16 months.
Yeah, 16 weeks. I said 16 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was a Democrat. I mean, he talked about donate money to Democrats, but I think a lot of people came from a very different place. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, over the last 30 years. Yeah. It's a sophisticated information war that they're running on people. Like where I grew up, the idea is if the federal government expands and social programs expand, then you'll be safe from white supremacy. Right. That's the narrative for black people all across the country. Yeah. So even how we know it's stupid. Once you've seen, you can't unsee. But it's also easy to understand how people get tricked into it.
Right.
Lifelong. My grandfather loved. It's funny. When I ran, my grandfather Frank White, he's like big Minnesota sports figure, Hall of Fame official. Grandfather was a great baseball player, batted like .750 his senior year in high school. So I come from a sports family, and I got around the state of Minnesota.
That's black excellence right there.
It's pretty good. Back then, he would have played in the Negro leagues or tried out for major leagues, but he had a kid young, and back then there was no money in it. So if you had a kid, sports wasn't a pursuit. But anyway, so I did a lot of traveling around Minnesota, the state, when I was young because my grandfather reffed all over, right? So you go from the city, that's where most of the black people lived. There's not many there anyway, but that's where they live. And then you get to outstate Minnesota, and it's mostly white and whatnot. So diverse community of friends that he has, right? Like Kenny Mauer, right, who is Joe Mauer's uncle. And Kenny Mauer was ostracized from the NBA, has to fight for his pension now because he denied the vaccine on a religious and conscientious basis. And he said, I'm not taking the vaccine. the NBA said, you have to take it. And then when he said, well, this is my religion, they came back and said, well, the Pope says that you should take the vaccine. Right? So, but I bring him up.
They think the Pope is actually a good Catholic.
That's what's scary. Yeah, no, horrifying. But I bring him up because he and my grandfather go back to the neighborhood. And my grandfather, there was an article with Mother Jones where one of the writers reached out to my grandfather, and he didn't denounce me as his grandson, but he was against my politics. And Kenny Maurer calls me up like 3 weeks later. He's like, hey, man, I love what you're doing. I love what you're saying.
Right.
I love your grandpa. I just saw him a couple weeks ago, but he got this one way wrong. So that, just little stuff like that shows you how well the information is weaponized, and, even down to like that close to you, immediate family. And, where these two people are friends, but they got two totally different views of what's going on.
Right.
And I haven't even talked to my grandfather much since that happened about a year or so ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he helped raise me. I love him. He's a really good dude. He just is confused. He's been lied to. He doesn't get it. And I just want to call him up and ask him sometimes, like, how do you feel about the NBA saying that Kenny Maurer has to take the vet? This is your friend. This is your lifelong friend.
Right.
Y'all two was hanging out before I was even born.
Right.
And so, but people don't even want to really go there. They just they think what they think, and they want to stay there because it's comfortable. So that's what we ultimately fight against, right?
Yeah, people like, it's real tough for people to admit that they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the crux of the whole argument. Yeah. But there's a strong allegiance for blacks for Democrats.
I know, it's crazy.
We used to be Democrat.
Yeah.
I voted for Clinton. I voted for Gore. I voted for Kerry. Yeah, I voted for Kerry. And I remember standing in line, voting for Kerry. I was like, look at all these white people living in here. They try to bring racism. They try to bring the Klan back. I'm gonna vote because that's what they told me, and that's what I believed. And then I just started paying attention to both sides, and then I was like, man, the left is a scam. Yeah. They've been tricking me the whole time. Yeah, I think both, for the most part, yeah. There's some little scams in the Republican Party, but a majority of the scams, I would say, is from the left. Like, I'm MAGA for Gaza. Like, that is a scam on the right.
You brought the anti-Semite U.S. Senate candidate on as a MAGA for Gaza. It's on now. This clip's going viral for sure.
Hey, Royce, what is that term? What? First of all, let me get your definition of Semitic, and what's your definition for anti-Semitic?
Well, Semitic the definition fits. It's the Semitic languages. If you're a part of the Afro-Eurasian or Afro-Asian area where the three Semitic languages were spoken, Arabic, Aramaic, and Hebrew, then you're Semitic. I mean, I guess if you want to go by that standard, if you live anywhere in the world and you speak one of the Semitic languages, you're Semitic.
Right.
So some people come from that area. Some people speak the language. So the definition of Semitic's pretty straightforward. The definition of anti-Semitic is a scam.
Right.
100%. It's a scam. They call me anti-Semitic. They call Trump anti-Semitic. They call Bannon anti-Semitic. They call anybody who opposes globalism is anti-Semitic by definition too. That is kind of a Republican Party scam.
Yeah, right.
You know
right. That's one of the little scams we run.
No, not a little one.
That's a big scam. That's probably the biggest one in the world.
It's global for sure. Yeah.
Right. So that definition of Semitic, I'm just like, how can you be anti-Semitic when you're trying to protect Palestinians? Because if they're Semitic people as well. Yeah. Right. And I think the people that start off as refugees there in old UK Palestine, there were refugees. Are those European Jews? Are they considered Semitic?
Yeah. Well, here's, and I get a lot of flack from both sides because I don't have any personal investment in the issue. One, I'm not Jewish. I'm Christian, and I do think that it says Jesus didn't come to upturn the law; he came to fulfill. Right. So if you go back to the Torah in the earliest days of the Christian tradition, our forefathers were Jews. There's not really an argument there to be had. It's Moses and David
Jesus is a Jew.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, some people would argue, well, Jesus is the advent of Christianity, so you can't really say. But it was his tradition, right? But I don't really have personal investment in the issue, right? So I just talk about the way it is, and for me, the European. Here's the way the history worked, at least by a lot of people's account, is after the first Roman-Jewish War, the Jews were exiled into the diaspora, right? And they left out and went up. Some went up through Asia Minor, some went up through Europe. That's how Paul ends up there in Rome and spreading Christianity, what is now Christianity. Some of them end up in Babylon. Some of them end all the way up there in Russia, right? And during the first Roman-Jewish War, you could argue that the Jews revolted for legitimate reason. They were being overtaxed. And the Romans basically felt like they had dominion over Greater Israel, which at the time they basically owned. I mean, the Jews didn't have Israel didn't have a big enough army to really fight the Romans. So the Romans basically let them exist as a little city-state. And the Jews woke up one day and were like, we want to be independent, kind of like America from the British Empire, right?
Right.
Okay, so now they end up all over the world, and some of them end up in Europe in what they call now Ukraine. And that's where the Khazarian legend comes from. And after World War, and they spread all throughout Europe. And then after World War II, they create the Jewish state and offer them the opportunity to come back to what is the biblical or religious homeland. And my thing is like, even let's take the Hebrew Israelites, for example, as a group. Their thing is like, well, these people aren't really Jews.
The Black Hebrew Israelites?
Hebrew Israelites, right? Which a lot of those dudes got a lot of good things they're talking about, and I appreciate that they're trying to stand on some principles and live right.
I think that delivery is wrong.
Well, I mean, I'll give you this as an example. It's like, well, we're the original Jews, but then these white Europeans picked up our religion and practiced it so hard for so long and so well that I got a 23andMe, my Hebrew lineage.
So they have that's in their ancestry. Have their ancestry.
Who?
Those Black Hebrew Israelites.
Well, that's the claim. The claim is that the black. Some of the claim is like the blacks that were brought over in the slave trade were the original Jews, or that the lost tribe of Judah is African. And all that stuff very well may be. I mean, I think we're so far removed from it. It doesn't have as much value to me when like the Republicans are scamming people out of trillions of dollars, right? That's more on my mind. But if people want to talk about it, they always ask me. I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about it. Okay, if these European whites picked up your religion at some point, why'd they go harder for it than you did? Why are they keeping on the tradition and then you lost it? At some point, your people sold out what they were supposed to be doing, right? Yeah. And I'm not fanning for I'm not making an excuse for them. I'm just saying how it is. Yeah. Why can we look at, and they're still wearing and they're still doing the tradition, and then you're like, well, 23andMe, I'm back to, it's like, all right, well.
I saw this one interview on Instagram. This black dude went up to a European Jew. Yeah. And he said, hey, did you know we're real Jews? He said, well, be Jewish then.
Right. No, it's a voluntary faith.
Right. Go be Jew.
Yeah. Why you
be Jewish? Well, you ain't got to tell me this.
That's
I thought that was so funny.
Now, and then on the flip side, the scam that
God is absolutely black. It's in the Bible.
Can I ask you a question?
Hold on, wait a minute. Is it a problem, God being black?
God doesn't have a skin color.
Is it a problem, God being black?
It's not a problem. It's just not what's true.
You seemed very disappointed when I said God was black. You turned around. Here we go again.
No, because if you believe that,
because you love black people.
Wait, then how are blacks discriminated then if God's black?
Well, why can't God be black? You seemed so disappointed a second ago.
Why would God, the Almighty Creator, have a skin color?
How did you get a skin color?
God created us.
So God creates skin color, but people, he don't have them.
Yeah, God created the trees too. He's not a tree. That's a stupid argument.
It's a stupid argument?
Yes, just because he created skin doesn't mean he has it. Yeah. You're saying to not worship and idolize whiteness and not worship everything. You're doing the same thing. You're embodying the same racist ideology you're trying to.
The East Indians, all the other nations of people. My people are in everyone's culture because everyone got together and got rich off of exploiting us.
Yeah.
God is absolutely
That's the one thing.
The headdress that he's wearing is ridiculous.
It ain't nothing but a wave cap.
Yeah, with a sequence glitter band over it. It's ridiculous. See, him I can't take serious.
Right.
And he might even be right. But you're disqualified based on a presentation alone.
That's why
I'm an ad hominem guy. Come on, man, get the fuck out of my face, man. I'm not listening to this shit.
Right.
But my thing is, so with the way the story goes with the Jews is, at some point, the Jews that came from Israel started to mix with the other races.
The whites.
The whites, yeah. Okay. So some people would say, oh, well, they stole the religion. Well, how history works, when two different peoples come into contact with one another, either A, they kill each other, or B, they commingle. They start to
procreate.
They start to procreate, or sometimes a bit of both. Sometimes against the will of the people, right? So, you can't. So then when they say the Khazarians aren't real Jews, it's like, well, they came into contact with the tradition at some point. Now, the scam that they're running is anybody who says anything about the history of Judaism or Jews at all hates all the Jews. And that's ridiculous. That's a lie. Right. So I get it from both sides a lot. And so what? I mean, I like the position. Pause. That's a pause, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Trump, how do you feel about Trump? He said he wants to buy Gaza.
You know what?
Clean it out and move the Palestinians and make this like an oasis, essentially for the Jews. It sounds like to me. That's the way I took it.
Well,
that's some prime real estate, Royce. That's some prime real estate. That's right by the wall.
Well, scary thing is, you look at the white papers before Israel was attacked. You look at the white papers, and there was a pipeline that they were planning to build through India, through Saudi Arabia, up through the Black Sea, and basically end right there in Gaza. So the white paper, sort of commercial, international business, trade aspect of the region is already sitting there for people to read. And it's dark. It's dark because, I just had Chris Martinson on my podcast, recently, and he was talking about how if you map all of the great world conflicts over top of the oil and energy pipelines, you get a perfect match, almost perfect match in the modern war era. So my thing with Trump is, obviously there's a huge influence, a huge pro-Israel influence around him and has been. I would even venture to say that may be part of the reason why he didn't want to endorse me going against Amy Klobuchar, who is like the proverbial anti-MAGA, anti-Trump, anti-America first senator, right? Whether I was going to win or not, it's an uphill battle, but he outperformed me by about 5 points in Minnesota. And part of the reason is a lot of the Minnesota old guard, Norm Coleman, who's the head of the RJC, Republican Jewish Coalition, Rudy Boschwitz, who was one of the last Republicans to hold office statewide. He was a senator, U.S. senator, also Jewish. And Tim Pawlenty, who's about as milquetoast of a moderate. I tell people, you hear the word moderate or electable, you should fear it. Hear it and fear it. Those two words are the most dangerous words in American culture. But Tim Pawlenty's really moderate. And they all came out and endorsed my opponent in the primary. Right,
That's crazy.
Even though I got the endorsement of the Republican convention, right, the caucus and the grassroots Republican Party, they said, well, whatever the people say, we know better, and we're going to go with Ukraine Joe Frazier, who supports Ukraine funding, unlimited Ukraine funding, unlimited unrestricted warfare with Russia, and I only mention that because Trump is in a very strange spot. If you look at human history, he's in a very, very strange spot.
Right.
So I don't even fault him, but the people around him, that it's an issue they're going to have to deal with at some point, because I think they're on the wrong side of it. And I don't even think it's being handled wrong so much as the way it's talked about is still kind of, trying to dance around the issue. And I say that because, like the Gaza thing, I don't mind that. Like when people ask me what I think should be done a long time ago, I said maybe the Jews should come out of Israel. I proposed, but see, I proposed it on the other side, right? But it's the same concept, right? That the original UN agreement or plan for Israel was bugged in the beginning. It was bugged. There was first it was supposed to be the embassy was supposed to be in the middle, and then you had Palestine on one side, Israel on the other side, and this is kind of the piece. Then somebody decided, well, let's just mix and match them, and then somehow they'll start to get along. And it's just like, that didn't happen. That didn't work. It failed, obviously. But
don't you think they knew that was going to happen? That was not going to happen?
Either that or they're just naive. I would. The British were in charge of the UN Israel deal.
Right.
And I keep telling people, and this was the argument I had with, I didn't have an argument, but with Dan Bilzerian, and I was on the Jake Shields podcast, and it's the argument that Alex Jones continues to have with Nick Fuentes is, yeah, we can talk about Jewish influence and power all around the world. You can't do it without also talking about the people who signed those deals, because they're culpable too. You can't take their cult, whether it's black entertainers like Kanye West, who I like his music. He says some stuff that's true. Sometimes he gets way off into the deep end. Or it's, some basketball player who signs a contract with a predominantly Jewish-owned NBA or what the entertainment business at writ large. It's like, okay, you signed the deals though. Right. So you could say that their deal making is predatory, but you had a choice. Right. And I'm not saying that doesn't make them corrupt, but it makes you culpable too. You're responsible. Right. So it's the same thing on the international stage where a lot of people who end up criticizing the Jewish, conversation have criticism of the Jewish lobby and things like that, which exists and it's corrupt by my standard. They tend to be, very pro-white. Or let's say their opinion is that white people are getting a bad rap, which I agree with. This whole everything's white supremacy is ridiculous. Right. However, if you're going to criticize Israel and the Jews and their influence worldwide, you can't do it without bringing a fierce criticism to the European men who signed the deal. And this goes all the way back to the inception of Israel, where the crown, the British Empire, is the one who allotted the land. And they oversaw the process. And really, America is defending Great Britain's foreign interests. We don't even have a genuine foreign policy. Right. Our foreign policy is Great Britain's foreign policy. You look at all of our big international conflicts or hot zones, hotbeds, tinderboxes, it's all British foreign policy. China, opium war with Great Britain. Russia, great game for the heartland, for Ukraine, right? Mackinder's World Island theory. Who controls East Europe controls the heartland. Who controls the heartland controls the Eurasian World Island and the natural resources. And then they're in the Middle East. And the oil and the petrodollar is Kissinger, who was a German national, Polish Jew. And this is all their deal, right? And so my thing with Trump and Gaza is, I was saying, bring the Jews out of Israel. Bring
very anti-Semitic.
How? I want them to come live with us.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I just don't want us to be on both sides of the war. And the way it's set up now, the way it is now, we're on both sides of that war and every war. When you're on both sides, it's very hard to tell who your enemies and who your friends are. And so what Trump's proposing is just the opposite. He's saying, hey, Gaza's this little tiny open air prison. You people are saying you want to live here, but you're also saying you're trapped. Yeah. Oh my God, we're trapped. We'll leave. Yeah. We'll find a better place for you. And so what he's doing, he's putting them on the spot saying, hey, if it's really so bad here, what if we build you a place that's 3 times better?
Right. Yeah.
If we build you an oasis somewhere else where you 2 million Palestinians can go live and not have to be under the thumb of the tyrannical Israeli government, like you say, would you take it? And if you say no, then it kind of says you just want problems. Right. And I'm not saying that that's not warranted because I don't think how Israel's been treating those people is right. Right. But at some point you got to decide, like, and I take it back to the neighborhood, my block is in a war with this block. At some point we got to decide if we still want to keep killing each other. Right. And if that means, me and my people, we get up and move, or you and your people get up and move, something's got to shake. Right. Right. So I like the Gaza idea, actually. But I would have been fine if the Jews came to America too. Right. Right. Or if the Jews went back to Europe.
I think they should go to Finland. Nice white place.
Man, the first Israel state was supposed to be in Uganda.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
That would have never worked out.
The original Zionist project, the Herzl and all those, but Theodore Herzl and all those people, their original plan was for Israel to be in a place like Uganda because it had no religious affiliation. They were secular Jews. So they didn't view Israel as a biblical homeland. It was Westerners who came.
As a people.
Yeah. It was Westerners who came in and used the biblical tie to facilitate to basically get the let's say the consensus of the American people, a very evangelical Protestant Christian American population, to get them okay with what they were going to do, to create that state right there where it is. But it had no religious basis in the beginning.
Right.
You know, and that's the scam that the evangelical Christian Republicans are running on themselves.
Yeah. I never understood that dynamic between that relationship between Judaism and Christianity, because they don't believe in the same. They don't believe in Jesus. They think he was a false prophet, that he's boiling in a big pot of boiling semen, or something like that.
Well, I mean, we could say that the Christians are.
I don't understand it. You know,
we could say that the Christians are being very Christ-like in their understanding of the imperfected Jewish theology.
Right.
And that's why a lot of Jews who actually come to believe in Christ, they call them Messianic Jews, but those Jews usually call themselves perfected Jews.
Yeah. See, these Jews, man, they complicated.
Well, I mean, you know, it's a complicated history, right? But ultimately, Abraham, you know, the earliest fathers of the Christian faith were Jews. You know, and you can't discount that. You know, it's the same as you can't discount George Washington because he owned slaves.
Right.
I'm not doing it. You can't trick me into it. I don't care which side of the argument you're on. I can both say that having slaves is not a Christian and let's say a humane thing to do. And I could also say that to not get involved in foreign entanglements was a brilliant statement for a statesman to make.
Right.
And the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, you know, so both things can be true at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, but that Gaza Strip, that is prime real estate.
That's beautiful.
I think it's the best real estate in the world.
Might be. Yeah, might be.
That's how the
Palestinians and the greedy Jews want their hands on it.
Hey, well, they you know, BB making no qualms about expansion.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you know,
but you know what? I don't think let's say. I think Trump, what he's trying to go about in Gaza, I think he actually cares about the Palestinian people.
I do too.
Yeah, I think it comes from a good place.
It's not his deal,
right?
I mean, it's thrown on his plate, but it's not his deal,
right?
So what do you do when you got? If I live, let's say, you got this block, I live on the next block. I got people, or I got friends that live in both areas.
Right.
And, you know, you just want to see it come to an end. I think that's going to be one of the hallmarks of Trump's legacy is his efforts towards peace, right?
Right.
It's like, let's just make the peace, whether it's Russia, Ukraine. If this Middle East thing gets quieted down, then that'll be great too. Nobody's going to be happy at the end. Once war gets to this point, people aren't going to be happy with the outcome, no matter what. But
nobody wins these wars. These modern wars, nobody wins.
Yeah.
Nobody wins.
So you said the NBA, it's like it's ran by a bunch of Jewish people, huh?
Predominantly. The ownership is predominantly Jewish.
Yeah. How was it like playing in the NBA?
I didn't play. No, I didn't get a chance to play. I came into the NBA. I got drafted. Well, if I took you back before I was drafted, I became widely known for having been one of the first college basketball players or college athletes to talk openly about my struggles with anxiety.
Right. I got the same problem.
A lot of us do, don't we?
Yeah.
So when I was like 16, I smoked weed for the first time, had a massive panic attack, started having panic attacks until I was diagnosed. I was put on medication early on, Prozac. I was taking like 20 milligrams of Prozac.
Did that help?
In the beginning, it helped. It helped like bring me back to a baseline. It felt like where I was getting sleep again. At first, I was getting no sleep. I was just anxiety riddled all day long, couldn't sleep. The Prozac, I remember starting to be able to sleep again and have dreams. That's how you can tell you're really getting in deep sleep.
Right. Because anxiety is nothing but your mind is just racing.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, I mean, and I got over, first I stopped taking the medicine and I stopped having panic attacks as bad. But some of it lingered on when I got to college and I went to Minnesota, got in a little bit of trouble at Minnesota. Ended up transferring to Iowa State, had to sit a year. This was back before you could go anywhere you want penalty-free in college basketball. Now guys are getting paid. We used to get in trouble for getting an extra sweatshirt from the school you was getting recruited by. Right? You got to ride across the 2, 3, 4, 5 mile wide campus. You got to ride to your class after a 7 a.m. practice. You were getting penalized and suspended by the NCAA. Now you're getting cars from the local car dealer. It's crazy. This was just 10 years ago. Right? Remember, this ain't 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
But so I go to Iowa State. I had to sit a year. So by the time I started playing, I'm now 20 years old. And I had an ESPN writer come and do a story on me because of the success we were having. Nobody thought that we would be successful that year. We were picked to finish like bottom 3 in the Big 12, which is the perennial basketball conference. And we ended up being close to the top. We ended up finishing third in the conference, right? And this is one of the golden era of Big 12. This is during the Bill Self reign of Kansas, where they won 10 Big 12 championships in a row.
The Big East was big too.
Big East was good. Yeah, well, we clipped their ass at Iowa State and Ames. They was ranked number 5 in the country.
Right.
Yeah. Bill Self's a good dude. Shout out to him. But anyway, so they're doing this story on me, and I let it slip that I didn't eat before the games. It was they were asking me about my routine. And I was like, I don't eat before the games. They were like, why? I was like, I don't know. My stomach just weird in the morning sometimes. I got anxiety. So I said that, and then they were like, wait, hold on, skirt? You got anxiety? What are you talking about anxiety? So then it became a story across the, Royce White dealing with mental health, anxiety, and how will the NBA look at it? So then I go into a pre-draft process where the NBA now is like, the NBA media is like, well, Royce is one of the most skilled NBA-ready players in this class. 6'8", 270, plays point guard, great passing skills, great defender, led his team in every major statistical category. This guy's a shoo-in to be a top 5 pick, talent-wise and ready-wise. But how do they view anxiety? How does the NBA look at anxiety? Do they look at it as a genuine medical issue or a character problem?
Right.
So I'm fucking 20 years old, G. And I gotta field these questions as a 20-year-old. You can say I was put on
the just trying to deal with it on your own.
I'm trying to survive out here. Right.
Yeah.
And so I got drafted, and I go to a rookie transition program they hold in Hoboken, Jersey every year. So where they bring in the rookies to basically do 3-4 days of seminars on watching people who want to steal your money, watch out for the women, the horror stories from the NBA players who have been through, tough stuff. And I saw Chris Herron, he gave a speech. And if you know anything about Chris Herron's story, he was addicted to heroin. NBA player, great college player, got addicted to heroin real bad and whatnot. And I was sitting there, I remember like the things he was describing resonated with me because even though I wasn't doing drugs, the emotions he was feeling alone and darkness and fear and feeling like you can't talk to anybody about what's going on.
He was self-medicating.
Oh, he was self-medicating. I mean, heroin is as bad as it gets, right?
Right.
I mean, I was taking 20 milligrams of Prozac. It's like a punk drug, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But heroin he's doing a serious drug. But anyway, so after it was over, I went back to my room and I had my collective bargaining agreement. I went to read it page by page from front to back. And I realized there wasn't a single mention of mental health in the entire document. And it blew my mind because I got to the banned substance list, and here's a medication that I'm prescribed. Right? So now I'm thinking in my head, oh shit, man, what do we do with this? So I go to my team and I'm like, all right, there's a discrepancy between the document, the CBA, and the health part of the document and the banned substance list. And I'm prescribed this drug, so am I okay to take this? Even though at the time I wasn't taking it, I had it for as needed, Xanax. Okay?
Right.
I was prescribed Xanax as needed. If I'm having a panic attack, if I'm getting anxious around flying and whatnot. And that was another big part of the story is because I didn't like to fly.
A lot of people don't.
Well, look now. I was telling him before the show started, seeing a Delta Airlines flight upside down, maybe I was having a premonition, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
You know what I mean? A little bit too much for my comfort. I'm glad I like to drive more than fly. But so that became a big story. And ultimately, I got into a political fight with the NBA on clarifying their policy. Like, okay, well, how do you view mental health and anxiety? Is it a medical issue? Is it a part of comprehensive medical, health for your players and everybody? Or do you look at a character issue like, you punk motherfucker, you got anxiety, you just a hassle, right? You know what I mean? And I feel them. I feel what, if that's their position, I just need to know.
Right.
So I could go about so I could do what I need to do. Let's get the expectations out on the table.
Right.
And they didn't want no part of that. They were like, who you think you are to even question the shit that we write? The policy. You want to question us about policy? I had one attorney, his name was Goldberg. He was Leslie Alexander.
One of them.
Hey, it's the man's name. I didn't name the man. I didn't make it his name. Yeah.
Right.
But, you know, so we had like this big falling out public kind of dispute. You can go back and look at it. And the mainstream media was shilling for the NBA. Because everybody wants their credentials, their media credentials. And the NBA is a cash cow.
Right.
The NBA is the watering hole of the global corporate community. Every industry has an interest.
That's the Gaza Strip of the Mediterranean.
There you go. That's right. That's right. They're all there. They're all trying to get a piece. And so we had this big, like, 3-month dispute. And finally, Leslie Alexander at the time, who is another Jewish owner, he since sold the team, you know, to somebody else. But he sent this guy. This is his attorney. You know, this is his lead guy. Right? His general counsel, they call it. Every rich guy has one, right? Yeah. Not to say that they're all Jewish. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying usually a rich guy has a general counsel attorney. So he sends him. And he sends him, and we sit in the psychiatrist's office. First, they made me go to the psychiatrist every day against the psychiatrist's recommendation. Because I said, I don't need to go to a psychiatrist every day. I need us to clarify this language in this contract so I can know, so we can know how to operate with each other. I'm 20. I need to know expectations.
Exactly.
Right. But the fact that y'all got Xanax here, then you're telling me I can take it anyway, that doesn't seem right to me.
Right.
So I go to this doctor, this psychiatrist, great guy at Baylor University. His name is Aaron Fink, another Jewish guy. Really good dude, though. Really like Aaron Fink. Shout out to him. ESPN E60 did a little brief documentary on me. And Aaron Fink sang my praises and was like, man, Royce was one of these guys who basketball wasn't what was most important. He wanted to make sure things were done right. He was interested in bigger than basketball, you know. But anyway, so I go to him. I'm going to him every day, and he tells them there's nothing wrong with this guy. He doesn't need to come. He said my most manic schizophrenic patients come see me at most twice a week. You're making him come here every day as punishment because you don't want to have to deal with what he's saying. What he's saying is your documents, your player contracts got a huge hole in the language. And he's right. Yeah, he basically, Fink said, Royce is right. The director of health for the NBA and the union, which is a joint person that they both agree upon and hire, Dr. Taylor, he said, Royce is right. We need to change this language. My team doctor, Dr. Muntz, shout out to Dr. Jim Muntz. I still talk to him all the time when I got something going on in my health. He said, Royce is right. We need to change this language. David Stern was like, I don't give what y'all say. I don't give a fuck. There's a hierarchy of power, and I don't believe that this kid deserves to even talk to me. I'll talk to his agent.
Is David Stern?
He's dead now.
Yeah. Is he Jewish? Was he Jewish?
He's Jewish. Yeah. Adam Silver succeeded him. He's Jewish. And if you know anything about that, community, and I mean that immediate NBA ownership community, the real history of their Jewish ties goes back to Adam Silver's father, who was one of the founding attorneys of Prochire and Rose, which is probably one of the most powerful law firms in New York City. That Prochire and Rose was the law firm that took all the Jewish attorneys back when the other firms wouldn't hire any Jewish attorneys. Okay. So Adam Silver's dad was one of the most powerful people in the whole world, probably. But anyway, so I'm sitting there now, and I'm in the psychiatrist's office, and we're having this meeting, and they send Goldberg. Now he's coming to try and patch everything over. And he sits right there in the meeting with me. Psychiatrist is there, team doctor is there, and a couple of my people are there as a witness. And he goes, you know, Royce, I think you're right. I think we should change this, but who's going to listen to you if you don't play? He told me that flat out. He said, if you play, I promise you, we will deal with this. We'll help you.
Players union take care of it for you.
No, non-existent. I'll get to that in a moment. He said, we'll help you do this. And they got the power to do it. Like when he was saying we can turn, he said, you're young, you're articulate, you're good looking. You could be the poster child of mental health if you play. Yeah. And I told him I shouldn't have. First of all, I'm not even interested in that. I'm not even interested in what you're offering. Right. So that's one of those silent offers, comes with strings. Right. I knew that then. I wasn't that smart back then, but I knew enough to know. All these offers coming with strings. Right. You ain't just that interested in what I'm talking about, what I want to do, or else we wouldn't be here. Right. You'd be doing it. Right. Okay, so I'm forcing you now. You're going to try and play back. That's how the great game is played. But anyway.
Want some reciprocity.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Reciprocity.
Yeah,
right. Reciprocity. That's what they
Right.
want.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm not even interested in what you're offering, but I don't even like the proposition that I have to play in order to do something that y'all can change now. All I'm saying is mental health has to be acknowledged in this document, or me and you can't talk about my anxiety. Because I don't want to have to be here every single week as a 20-year-old trying to explain some shit to you that doctors can barely explain. And now you're using that again. Now you're getting irritated with me, annoyed. Now you're trying to lowball me in contract time because I'm not explaining it well enough, or whatever the case may be. So anyway, long story short, me and him, we butted heads. I said, keep the fucking money. He was like, you could probably make $100 million in this league at least. And now that's conservative looking at the contracts that are getting thrown around. And it's not to mention the endorsements. My goodness, right? If I'd have put on a dress, I'd be in the billions of dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They can't wait to put one of us light-skinned dudes with the light eyes in a dress, right? Oh, that's like a globalist wet dream. You get one of the Hodgetwins, you know what I'm saying, in a dress, and you in the money, right?
Oh man, I'm an instant billionaire.
You know what I'm saying, right? So imagine I'm sitting right there at the table, where it's like a phone call. No, I'll do that life insurance. I'll do that. A State Farm life insurance commercial with the dress. I'll do that. How much y'all offering? Right? Like I was right there. Right. So I tell them, keep the money. I don't want the money. And he's like, well, you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And tell David Stern, we'll see who comes out the other side.
So it's a lot of quid pro quo.
And you could argue that moment, even though it happened behind closed doors, was the inception of the current fight between the nationalist populist MAGA movement and the ultra multinational globalist establishment. See, because this was way before Trump ever came on the scene. This was 2012.
Yeah.
See, and I'm not saying that this kicked the movement, but I'm saying the energy was there, right? Where I'm like, as a young black man coming from a low and middle class blue collar family, my mom was an esthetician. She paid rent with her tips. Right? She took her tips and went to the the gas station. You wouldn't even know what Super America is. Y'all got 7-Elevens everywhere else, but we got Super America. She goes to the gas station and trades into cash for money orders to pay rent. Real working class. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So for me to be sitting there across people who got more money than Midas and tell them to keep the money, that's the impulse that Donald Trump's drawing upon now. And so what ended up happening was 2 years after I was kind of shunned from the league, Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan started talking about having anxiety, depression.
Oh, okay.
And because Kevin Love did it, they rolled out the red carpet for him. They changed the policy that I wrote. I actually hand wrote. I didn't handwrite it, but I wrote it myself personally. I wrote a policy proposal for the mental health portion of the collective bargaining agreement, and they literally used the language that I wrote. But they won't even say my name. Adam Silver to this day refuses to say my name. He won't even speak about me.
So that's why people don't like Jews, man.
Hey, I'll say this.
Yeah.
I can't say that because if you watch my podcast, this guy named Professor Penn, David Penn in his name, he's Republican Party officer in Minnesota.
Yeah, I watched that in.
Yeah, and he's Jewish, Ukrainian Jewish, right there from where the Khazarian, legend comes from. And I don't know anybody more America First or MAGA. Louis Topper is another great guy who, while still I would say is on the pro-Israel side, is an avid supporter of Trump and me and the MAGA movement. And I talk about the issue with Israel. Matter of fact, Professor Penn, they call him anti-Semitic. And he's a Ukrainian Jew.
That's crazy.
Right. So that tells you the racket that's being run with the anti-Semitic thing. Now, I do believe that Adam Silver and some of those NBA owners represent a demographic of people who are misusing the Jewish identity. And they're using it as a shield, as a cover. They're using it as a cudgel when they need to. And I think Jewish people everywhere should be offended by how it's being misused, just like black people should.
Right.
I think there's a lot of connection. There's a lot of similarity between the way the black identity is used and the way the Jewish identity is used. It's actually the exact same. the black identity is used to justify the expansion of the federal government here in America.
Right.
And the Jewish identity is used to wage a war against the idea of borders. On the international stage. It's the exact same racket, just a different way. Yeah.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
Wow, man. So they just rolled out the white carpet for a white boy, huh?
You know,
That's what I call white privilege right
yeah.
there.
I'm like, man, my name's Royce White. I'm light skinned. I ain't get no love. Kevin Love get all the love. I can't get no love. Damn.
Yeah.
No, but they rolled out the carpet for him, and you know, he was respectful though. He was like, you know, he gave me my kudos. He was like online. You know, we couldn't have got this started without Royce, but the NBA never acknowledged it. And you know, I'm only 33 right now.
Right.
Like I still could be playing. And there are a lot of people who would say, like Draymond Green was on Paul George's podcast, and he was drafted the same year as I was, and we went to draft camp together. He was running down all the people who got drafted before him, and then he was saying which ones were trash, and they came to my name, and he was like, "No, Royce is another one that kills me because," and they was like, "What? He trash?" And Draymond was like, "Nah, nah, Royce was like that. Like if Royce didn't have the issue with the mental health stuff, he'd still be an all-star today." And he was mad because we had a similar skill set. My year when I was at Iowa State, I led my team in all 5 categories: points, rebounds, blocks, steals, assists. He led Michigan State in 4. So we had a very similar build, similar game. And he was basically saying, if Royce is the 16th pick, how I end up all the way at 68, which looking back now is legitimate because he's very good and he's had a lot of success and he's really helped Golden State more than I think people realize. He does the little things. He's gritty. So
that guy's a power forward, right?
Right.
How tall is that dude?
He's about 6'6".
He's 6'5".
No, yeah. I mean, you're right
6'5"
there.
and a half.
Yeah, you're right there.
Because the position he's playing, I'm like, this dude is undersized, like just like Charles Barkley, man.
Right.
They say he was 6'6". He's like
Barkley about 6'4".
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that dude was doing crazy.
Makes it even more amazing, right?
Yeah, he would have 6'10" people on him.
Oh man, Barkley was an athlete, and what's makes more crazy is he didn't work out. He didn't work on his body. He ate like a just savage.
He was a light-skinned, fat Dennis Rodman.
I mean, imagine how you see how high he jumped though.
Yeah.
Imagine if he was lean.
Yeah. I know.
He would have had a 45-inch vertical. He probably already had a 40-inch vertical.
Right.
He probably would have been upper 40s if he was lean.
Yeah.
He was a fat boy putting his head on the rim.
I remember seeing him grab a rebound. When he got the rebound, both his hands was over the rim when he grabbed it.
Yeah.
And then he went straight back up like he was 7 foot and slammed it. I was like,
yeah, that's something only 7-footers do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wasn't that athletic.
Yeah,
but I had a lot more wiggle. I had a lot more wiggle. They say I had a lot more shake in my game than Barkley.
Do you regret not playing in the NBA?
Man, that's a good question. Some days, I wake up in the morning, maybe got a little financial trouble. You know, got regular people's bills to worry about with regular people's money.
Because looking back on it, if you just kept quiet and just played, you'd have made a lot of money.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
But see, I see my situation unique because, you know, life happens fast, especially politically, especially corporately, you know, you could say. And I think about it some days where I'm like, man, if I had kept my mouth shut, I would have made some money. I would have made some money. I probably would have got a $80 to $100 million contract before the shit hit the fan. But the shit was going to hit the fan.
Right.
It was going to hit the fan regardless, though, because
you hated the flying.
Well, not the flying thing. That was another scam they ran. It's like,
oh yeah,
and it's the thing that they talk about. I see people online. They still criticize. Oh, you don't like to fly. You're scared of flying. You're a weak coward. Just, First off, I remember a time in the NBA that you can still go watch people play where they only bust people to the games because it wasn't that lucrative yet. Right. It was only on buses. And the NBA is a regional based league still to this day. Right. You got the upper Midwest, you got Chicago, Minnesota, Cleveland, Indiana, right? Milwaukee. Then the East Coast, you got that East Coast corridor. You got Jersey, it's Brooklyn now, but the Knicks, Washington Wizards, Philly, Boston Celtics. In the South, you got Orlando, Miami, you got Atlanta, you got Memphis, Dallas, Texas. And on the West Coast, that's why they call it the West Coast swing of the schedule. Right. Portland, Denver, LA, 2 LA teams now, Phoenix, whatnot, right? So you could really bust a lot of it. Like I could bust from Minneapolis, Chicago, no problem.
Right.
6-hour drive. Hell, as long as they could go to the airport and get there 2 hours early, get situated, and you're stuck on the tarmac because some jerk off didn't get the ramp all the way out, right? And all of a sudden you done wasted 4 hours anyway. So they made a big deal out of that. The flying wasn't really the issue, although the NBA did try and hang their hat on that in the media. That's how they try to fence. Oh, Royce is just this guy who was scared to fly. Look how ridiculous that is. Nah, that's ridiculous. What's ridiculous is you making it seem like I'm a prima donna because I'd rather take a 6-hour bus drive than fly on a first-class charter plane with catered food. Come on, who's really getting the best?
Right.
I'm taking the long route.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it wasn't that. What I'm saying is eventually the shit was going to hit the fan with 3 things: the LGBTQ, China, and the vaccine. All that shit was coming anyway.
Right.
Right. And then when we got there, I was gonna buck regardless. The mental health thing was almost light. Like I could have went without talking about the mental health shit. Really, they just backed me in a corner. Where on the first day of training camp, we were having this negotiation, and the GM at the time, Daryl Morey, went out to the media which is media day. First day of training, NBA training camp's always media day, and I wasn't there. And he said I was AWOL, like I was just absent without, like nobody knew where I was. I was going crazy, and I wanted to slap that motherfucker for saying that shit, for real, because he knew that what I was, he's a general manager. He's been a general manager in this league for several years. He knew what I was saying about the policy was not only true, but very true.
Yeah, you were gonna spree well his ass, huh?
And then I may have been out of the league for that. Yeah, right. There's all these like landmines there. But when we got to the vaccine, the LGBTQ, and being pro-China, I was gonna be out anyway. So I might have made a little bit of money, but it was gonna happen.
Right.
And those are the better examples of how the NBA is asinine than the mental health thing. The mental health thing is like a subtle, thing that you'd have to know. But their position on the vaccine, being pro-China and the LGBTQ is inexcusable.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's who they are.
Well, I never got around that because both sides, left or right, they're against China, communism. But the NBA makes that an exception for them. And it's like nobody's willing to speak out against China.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge audience for them. Right.
Well, they want in. They want in, let's say. They're being let in.
Yeah.
See, there's I'm glad you bring that up because you go right to the heart of the problem there, where there are people acting like they're free market capitalists, but really they're whatever they need. They're chameleons.
Right.
They're whatever they need to be. Ideology isn't even really important. And you find that the NBA is willing to do a deal with a racist. Let's get that out there first. Extremely racist, totalitarian dictator regime. Even connected business-wise. Like if Donald Trump showed up to the NBA game, the NBA PR room and management's panicking. How do we damage control this? We don't want the NBA brand to be associated with Donald Trump's extreme right-wing ideology. It's dangerous.
Which is crazy to say that he's not even right-wing.
Exactly. Well, first and foremost, that first. But secondly, you got no problem being affiliated with China.
Right.
They rounded up 2 million ethnic minorities, 2 million Muslims, and threw them in a concentration camp like it's just Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah. Like, hey, it's just a Wednesday. We about to round you motherfuckers up. Right.
Didn't LeBron say something? He received a lot of backlash. Was that LeBron?
It was the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, a lot of them did. Maury said so. Well, first off, my GM that was in Houston when I was there said something about Hong Kong. Remember that? He said free Hong Kong.
Right. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And so that popped off first. And then LeBron came back and said that Daryl Morey is talking about stuff he doesn't know anything about. And it could hurt us because at the time they were traveling over there. So he was saying it could actually hurt us. And then there was more recent where one of the Golden State Warriors owners, I think he's a part of that podcast. I forget the name, but it's kind of a moderate sort of, in the middle part. But he said the Uyghurs aren't even a priority. They don't even make my list.
I remember that.
Yeah. Kumpata, some Indian dude, he said something.
Yeah, he's a billionaire.
Shit about the Uyghurs. Yeah. But, all of these dudes are just, LeBron, look, amazing athlete.
Yeah.
Can't take nothing away from him. If you play the game of basketball, I tell people basketball is the greatest team sport in the world. Reason why is because it's the most dynamic. It's the only sport where all 10 players on the field of competition are involved in all of the game at all times. Right? The other team sports are different. Baseball, stop and go. You got your own section of the field. The infielders, the outfilders, you're kind of alone. Football, stop and go. You got the line, and then you got the secondary. You got linebackers.
Working together.
It's kind of basketball is you got to be ready for everything at once. You're always on defense or offense. There ain't no break on the field. The only sport that comes close is hockey. Right, in hockey they have lines, but it's the ice is so small. I got a lot of respect for hockey players. To be on skates, deal with the contact, and be able to handle that small puck. You got to be a beast. You know what I'm saying?
And you got to fight.
But it's a great team sport. And you got to fight. On skates. That's you.
That's some white man.
Shout out to the hockey players.
That's some white man stuff right there.
You got to give them their props, though. You know, y'all can say what you want about white supremacy. Them hockey boys is the real deal. They couldn't play no basketball. They don't got enough shake and wiggle. Don't jump high enough.
Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs, okay? You bring it up because you really care, and I think it's nice that you care. The rest of us don't care. I'm just telling you a very hard.
Wait, you're saying you personally don't care?
I'm telling you a very hard, ugly truth. Okay, of all the things that I care about, yes, it is below my line. Okay, of all the things that I care about, it is below my line.
Disappointing.
Nobody cares about.
Let's
be honest. Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs. Okay,
his whole priority is money. What's going to make me the most money? I don't care.
That's fine with me. Just don't hit me with the NBA cares, Black Lives Matter. This is about morals and ethics. Don't try and virtue signal on Trump and MAGA. Don't say, "Oh, the Hodgetwins are a danger to the general public." If you say shit like that, if you want to be a gangster, just be a gangster. I'm cool with gangster shit. You know, it's like, I don't give a fuck about the Uyghurs. I'm over here making money. You know, every man for himself. Cool. I get what you're saying. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's a good way to operate in the society we live in right now. But don't turn around and tell me Donald Trump is a. Don't tell me that if Kyrie Irving doesn't take the vaccine, then he's medical misinformation. All the young people who look up to him. It's like okay, well,
that was my whole thing with the NBA. They really turned me off because I was the biggest LeBron James fan. But when he got political, and then the NBA I haven't watched it. I picked up a couple games the last NBA Finals I watched.
LeBron James is a monster. Okay, I can't even describe it. It's like when I was 16, I was invited to the first annual LeBron James Skills Academy. This was when Nike was making a shift to pass the baton from Kobe Bryant to LeBron. And LeBron's annual camp, this was the first one, but what would become the annual camp was replacing what used to be the All-American camp. And I was 15 years old, and we played with LeBron. He stepped in and played. And there was a possession. We was playing like half court, 4-on-4 or something like that. And I remember there was a possession. I'm out there with LeBron, and I'm bumping him. You know, I'm already 6'7", so I can kind of bump with him and whatnot. One time a shot went up, and I was guarding him. He was on the perimeter. And I looked, and I saw him out the corner of my eye. Shot hit the rim, and I forgot in my mind, I went, it's LeBron James. Why did I not box him out? And as I turned my head to look back to go box him out, he was sprinting past me and went and tip dunked that shit. I was like, whoa. And he moved so fast, and he is probably one of the most impressive athletes in modern history, just from an athletic standpoint. To be sick, and he's really 6'9.5". He lists him as 6'8". He's 6'9.5". He almost 6'10". 265, 270 on a bad day. He's probably 280 on a good day. He's probably 260, right? And the boy must have been running a 4.2, 4.3, 40 at least, if not better.
There's a lot of rumors that he was going to play tight end in the NFL.
He could have played wide out. Imagine, I think Megatron and some of them receivers are big. Imagine him being 6'9.5" out there in the flat. Just throw it up to him. So he's an amazing athlete, especially to be still doing it at year 20, and he ain't no role player. He ain't having no.
How old is he now?
He's 41. No, I mean, come on, bro. He came in at 18. This is 22nd.
He got a lot of miles on them legs.
He in the top 10 in scoring still.
This crazy thing, because I remember growing up, I was watching Michael Jordan, the Lakers, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I remember what Kareem looked like at 40, 41. Compared to what LeBron
with the
like.
Goggles, with the knee pads. He's just out there really, they're just giving him his respect.
Right.
He's still like Dirk.
He was an old man.
Remember Dirk at the end of his career? He was doing the speed run. where he was speed walking, like the competitive speed walking. That's what Dirk was getting up and down the court like that, right? But he was still hit you with that little one-legged fadeaway. Bop, he'll hit you with that. But LeBron is still like a huge factor in dominant. And I say all that to say I'm not no LeBron hater. But he's a sellout.
Yeah.
Okay, so and see that's the thing people have difficulty doing. If you're a LeBron fan, you can't acknowledge that politically the man's a sellout. He knows what's going on with the Uyghurs.
Right.
He knows what's going. He knows that the NBA and the whole sort of Nike facade about humanitarianism and he knows that it's BS.
Yeah.
But he's willing to take the money. And again, if that's how you are, that's cool. But then don't be posting Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, because Malcolm X is willing to die for this shit.
Right.
Martin Luther King died for this shit. So you're not like them. So don't be trying to draw on that. You're more of a like I don't know, somebody who was alive then who survived it.
You know what, Royce?
Jesse Jackson.
Right. You know that saying, they're not like us.
Right.
That's a powerful quote, but black people are using it all wrong.
Right.
When they say they're not like us, you misrepresenting what that actually means. Just like you pointed out, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King.
Right.
Yeah. Those are the people you should be referencing when you say they're not like us.
Yeah.
Now you saying not like us, all these black people that are sellouts.
Right. And it was funny that they let them, there's another one. We can talk some pop culture for a second before we go back to politics, but the whole Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
The shit that, and I
don't get it.
I only casually saw it like in passing because I'm caught up in like the nuclear deal with Russia. Like I'm tracking if we're still doing, coordinating with the Russians in space. I'm watching silly shit like that. I read the Federal Register.
Right. Okay.
So when Complex Magazine comes by with the latest drip, but I had to. It was so loud.
Yeah.
Across the
everywhere.
I had to tune and I had to listen to. What is this beef really about?
What's all about?
And it blew my mind to watch people's reactions. That's what really tells you something, because there is something there about how people think.
Yeah.
And I'm watching, and all of a sudden I heard Kendrick say something like, like basically Drake ain't black enough because he light skinned.
I think that's what fueled everything. Yeah. Because growing up light skinned with green eyes, that's a struggle between light skin
you see,
black.
With us three right here, we understood. That triggered me right away. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, then it triggered me another layer because I know Kendrick Lamar has really tried to draw off of the Black Lives Matter, Black Prophet thing. When Drake said that about him, it was true. Now, I'm not saying Drake ain't Disney or corporate or he don't got a lot of the same corrupt establishment powers behind him, because he does.
Right.
But in all actuality, rap, where I grew up, let's say rap music since the days of NWA, which was kind of the inception of gangster rap. Right? Shout out to Ice Cube, Big Three. I play in the league. I love Ice Cube to death. He's like family to me. I'd go to war with him any day. But even he became an advocate against the music industry and saying, hey, these guys are taking our stories. We're coming and we're reporting what's going on in our neighborhoods, but they're taking it and blasting it and making it the norm. Glorifying it, right? And now our communities reap the, and when he did that, they called him
sellout,
anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Now remember, Jerry Heller, who was the Jewish executive who first founded NWA, okay?
The damn Jews.
No, this is just the history. I made my statements about it, but Ice Cube was, he called that out. And they called him anti-Semitic. They called Ice Cube anti-Semitic recently. Although his best friend and partner, Jeff Kwatnitz, Jewish dude who went to Harvard, right? Graduated from Harvard, same class as Obama, smart dude. Didn't agree, defended Ice Cube. No, he's not anti-Semitic. He can say what he wants about y'all are using that wrong. So there are Jews out there who don't jive with that, right? But my point is about the rap thing is Ice Cube accurately described that rap music, hip hop culture has a tone to it. It has a story to it, and that story is about the underworld. It's about the ghetto, but it's also a lot about money, cars, women, drugs, violence. You can't deny that. If you deny that, I don't know what you're doing. You're doing something weird. You obviously ain't listening to the music.
Right.
You're probably a white liberal who just has opinions about rap music in black communities.
Yeah.
You don't live there. I grew up on a crack block. I grew up on a block where they sold crack and they listened to Pac.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I know the correlation, and I know when you go to do a lick, or you go to do a drill, and you're going to shoot somebody, a lot of the music that's playing is done with drugs, and I'm getting myself in that trance to go take another man's life, another young man's life. Minister Louis Farrakhan, who they also call anti-Semitic, has always preached against that.
Right.
Okay, so now here we got this Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. As far as authentic rappers go, Drake is actually the one who's a little closer to that style of the rap industry. Understand? Where Kendrick is like more of a conscious, woke rapper.
West Coast.
Right? He's talking more about world issues. So you got two guys who are using black culture and black community both to the detriment. One guy, though, is just embracing the money, cars, and clothes idea. Drake.
Yeah.
I got money. All my shit goes
Got a plane.
number one.
Yeah.
All of y'all numbers is way down here, mine way up here. He's doing the Jay-Z 2.0, where Kendrick Lamar is saying like, "Oh, I'm underground independent," and but bro, you with the Black Lives Matter movement, so you're not really outside the establishment, and that's what pissed me off is because they always try and make it seem like the Black Lives Matter revolutionaries are like somehow, like they're ostracized. You people are embraced.
Right.
You're not the outcast, Kendrick. You're making it. You're like a self-inflicted. You don't get to perform at the halftime Super Bowl show unless you're in on the thing. So the whole beef blew my mind. But then to hear people say like, if you're light skinned, then you're not black. I must have cussed like 6-7 people out that I knew personally. Yeah. Like if I don't let me hear you say that dumb shit again.
Yeah.
You know what the crazy thing about that, Royce? Like I heard that growing up. You're not black.
Yeah.
You're not black. And the crazy thing about it, this past election, they said Kamala Harris was black.
Right.
I was like,
you see what I'm saying?
I don't get it.
This is called colorism.
Right.
That's what that is. A bunch of bullshit.
Don't you think black people everybody can be manipulated, but I think for some odd reason, blacks are the most manipulated.
We embrace dumb shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
That's what I don't get. And then you they call you Uncle Tom McCoon, a sellout.
Right.
I was like,
yeah, I've been called all the names in the book.
Yeah, that Kendrick Lamar song, man. It's like the song cool, all right? It's fine.
Got a cool beat.
I'm not trying to hit a song. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm gonna give his props.
Yeah, got a cool beat.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm not out here trying to listen to the song, but I can't get away from this song. I hear this shit 5 times every fucking day, just on social media.
Yeah.
When I'm looking for stuff to talk about. I cannot escape that fucking song.
I just hate the message. I hate the message behind the song.
Right.
What
are you saying? What are you saying black culture is like? And even the way that he described it in there is like, that's not something that we should be trying to stake our identity on. But in fairness to him and where he probably grew up and how he grew up thinking and how black people obviously think across the country still in large portion.
Right.
It's getting better, but in large portion, we're okay with our identity being tied to that. And we're even willing to criticize the young black men or the upcoming black men who are trying to really give us a better perspective, like you two, or like me. I get it all the time. Like, it's getting better, though, because I will say I ran a campaign, and when I run into black men or I interact with black men online, a lot of the times it's nothing but support. And
black men, black women.
Black women are crazy in them comments, boy. I'm telling you, and I'm watching them, I'm like, see, and then you can't see. Here's a real. And I talk a lot about cucks and cuck-servatives, and the American cuck phenomenon. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of cuckery going on, a lot of simping, a lot of beta shit going on out there. Right.
Yeah.
They said I was unelectable because I used the word cuck too often in my campaigns. I think it makes me electable. I think that you should elect me just because I'm the only candidate up here willing to say that cuckery is a real thing. Yeah. And it happens to be a problem with this candidate, actually. So as a cuck, his wife just gave me the wink and nod. Right. But, it's but the black women, I'm watching them and it's like, I'm actually sad for y'all.
Yeah.
Like, because I can see the psychological, bamboozle that's been done on them.
Mm-hmm.
Where their worldview has no anchors. Right. Like, it's all a contradiction.
Right.
The whole thing.
It's like textbook case of circular reasoning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, man, they really did that to our community. Mm-hmm. Like, they really took the black woman and made her the centerpiece for a corrupt status quo.
I think it's going to get worse because why are we embracing like Sexy Red?
Cardi B.
Well, sexual freedom is cool. It's been there since the earliest days of ancient pagan civilizations. People want their sexual freedom, and Sexy Red kind of embodies that. Like, hey, I could talk about my butthole and my vagina kind of out there in the open, and nobody, and make it acceptable. I could make it passable, and that kind of gives a signal to everybody else, like, okay, the sexual, freedom is getting okay, cool. Even if my thing is like, even if you want to listen to Sexy Red, cool, but don't convince me that our daughter should look up to her.
Yeah. Right.
That's cool. If you want to go to the club and when that Sexy Red hit and you feel sexually liberated, and you done had a couple of what are the Casamigos, right? You done had 2 or 3 Casamigos. You with your girls. Y'all got y'all skimpiest outfits on.
Right.
You just off your menstrual. You know what I'm saying?
You looking to get fucked.
You ready. I got you. I feel you. But don't be saying that my daughter should look up to you.
What blows my mind is when I see men dancing to that music. That is crazy.
Yeah, that's something else.
Yeah, we're here with Chris. He just won a Ram Giveaways 47 edition turbo diesel. Yeah. If you're in it right now, go right over here. Yeah, keep walking. Said, follow me over here. Keep on walking. Look over there. Y'all know about the Raptor we giving away. It ain't nothing but a lifted Corvette, man. It handles like a Corvette, handles like a sports car. Yeah. That truck's crazy. But we got something else we want to show y'all. We also giving away this Jeep Rubicon Can-Am Parade. Yeah, lifted. Yeah, fully loaded. And the reason why we do this, because y'all support us. So we're going to support you. Right now, we give you 10 times the interest. Spend $10, you get 100 interest. Spend 1,000, 10,000 interest. Go to officialhodgetwins.com. Anything you buy on our site, get you automatic entered to win all our giveaways. No purchase necessary. All where prohibited. See official rules for details. Yeah.
That's a whole nother problem.
That's a whole nother problem. like the black community embraces her. Like, the Jewish community, they own, they gatekeep what comes out in the black community.
The culture,
Right?
Right. I would agree.
Jewish people will not let Jewish Sexy Red come out and do music. They won't let that happen.
Right.
But they'll let it happen in the black community.
Right.
And when we talk about stuff like that, we're sellouts and coons. It's like
anti-Semitic. Don't forget that.
The hat trick.
Yeah, that's the first word they're gonna call you.
Yeah, and we say that and it goes over their heads. It's like they're not grasping what we're saying.
Who is it? Black people?
Yeah, just like the black community.
No, see they know. See, and that's the other thing. I sometimes feel bad for them. But I say this, and I'll say this about anybody, about any issue, whether you're in on it or ignorant, what the net result's still the same. So I can say that you've been miseducated, which black people have. Democrat ran Department of Education.
Right.
Post World War II, Democrat liberal philosophy, ideology been taught school-wide for 60 years since the Civil Rights Act. So I can say you've been miseducated, but at some point,
you got to figure out you're being played.
At some point, and you like the benefit of acting stupid. Right? Yeah. I mean, there's a benefit to that's why they say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, right.
There's a benefit. So I think a lot of black folks, I'm getting less lenient and more contemptuous with my approach to black folks. Like, no, y'all know what's going on.
Yeah.
Stop playing. Stop. I had a conversation, it was Super Bowl. And politics gonna come up. And I had to tell a young lady, I've been knowing her since she was real young. She's like family. I had to tell her, I said, we were talking about the school system. Right, vouchers and school choice and all this stuff, and just how bad the schools are, classroom sizes and whatnot. And I say, how can anybody look at the condition of public schools in this country and not place the blame at the doorstep of the Democrats? They have been quantifiably in charge of our school system for 60 plus years.
Right.
So, and white liberal women in Minnesota in the Minneapolis school district, they're the majority of teachers. White liberal women across the country.
Right.
It's like 70% white liberal women. In Minneapolis, we have some of the worst proficiency ratings in the entire country. I think we're like second to last in proficiency in the Minneapolis school district.
Only Baltimore worse, huh?
And it's bad like that in Minneapolis, which Minnesota is supposedly one of the best places you want to live to raise a family because the public school system's so good, just not where the black people live. And the white liberal women in the Minneapolis school district want more money. They already got a $2 billion budget. They want more money. So it's like, in what world?
Right.
Like, okay, if Donald Trump can't be allowed on television to say we need to close our border because it's so racist and xenophobic, it's going to spark violence all throughout the streets. There's nothing more dangerous to a community or to a country than people who are poorly educated, people who are stupid.
Yeah. Right.
And y'all are in charge of it. You've been in charge of it. So how do we continue to let you work?
Right.
I mean, we should fire you, but the teachers' unions are too powerful.
Way too powerful.
You can't fire no teachers no more.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, okay, we need our own schools then. So when Trump says we busting up the Department of Education, I'm like, about time.
Right.
And all you black people should be rejoicing.
Right. Yeah.
But finally, we get out of this cyclical Ferris wheel of stupidity. But they're so brainwashed.
Yeah.
And that.
I hate that whole thing about. I mean, I think Black history is important, but even when we study Black history and try to learn Black history, they do more harm to Black people than good. They're like just painting white people as these evil people.
Yeah.
And they're not focusing on what actual Black excellence is.
Right. I mean, Black. Well, yeah. White supremacy is another example. I said this is the contradiction of the female, let's say the Black female ideology, but Black men too. Since it's the Black men I was talking about, cuckery is, you were saying Black men as well, the Black men that would oppose us following around these Black women and they think they got to agree with them on politics or culture in order to get laid.
Right, yeah.
That's corny.
I'm
watching these dudes. I'm watching these. I'm like, see, I never had that problem. So it's natural for me to ride. You know what I'm saying? I'm keeping it a buck.
Yeah, right.
I never had that problem.
Yeah.
I'm 6'8" with green eyes and a 36-inch waist. I'm 265 pounds.
Right.
When I walk in a room, I'm not going to agree with you on abortion to get laid. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If I lined up 10 women around my age, or let's say 25 to 45, and I said, what things do you want in a man, physical attributes? I'm going to hit in the list like ding, 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 ding. Right. So we're not playing any of this, beta male simp stuff politically. Right. There's a lot of dudes who feel they need that.
Right.
And there's a lot of dudes who will do that. And
they have to do it.
I don't think they have to, but they certainly believe they do. They certainly doing it.
Right,
I don't think they have to, but they think they do. But another good example is this. They talk so much about racism. And it's like neocolonialism and Eurocentric philosophy.
Yeah.
And then all of our cultural leaders defend the territorial integrity of modern day Europe. Our entire foreign policy is a defense of the European Union.
Yeah.
We're willing to go to a nuclear war with the Russians, who are really kind of considered outside the scope of whiteness. Right. Historically speaking, the Slavs are not considered white. They're not black, but they're like in between Asian and European, right? The Slavs are their own type of race almost. We're willing to go to nuclear war with a country that's not white by historical standards for the predominantly Eurocentric people. Right?
That's deep right there.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah.
The entire foreign policy of America is predicated on protecting the territorial integrity of Europe. And you see all of these black women, pro-Kamala, who's pro-Ukraine, who's anti-Russia, who's pro-Davos, Switzerland. It's like, it don't get no more white than Davos, Switzerland. You feel me?
Right.
I don't even think they let you niggas hang in Davos, Switzerland.
Right.
The only niggas they let hang in Davos is like Obama,
Right.
who has a $20 million house in Martha's Vineyard. They don't let you niggas hang there either.
Yeah.
You know, drive up on one of you black folks that love the Democrats, who live in Baltimore. Go ahead and get in your car, take a nice scenic drive up there to Martha's Vineyard, park one day and just hop out and walk around.
Yeah.
It won't be an hour go by before the police come and tell you, you don't belong here.
Right.
I don't know what you doing here. You came to see Obama. He don't want to talk to you. Right? I mean, this is the reality.
Yeah. You remember when he sent the legal immigrants up there?
What they do?
They didn't go within hours. They didn't even get off the bus. They said, turn around. But that's the most like liberal state. That's like one of the most liberal states in the country.
I'm telling you, this is black women though, and I because I come from black women, so I love them.
Yeah.
I just wish that we could get through to them somehow. And it's starting. Don't get me wrong. It's not all black women. Some black women catching on. There's a lot of black women stood up during this past election cycle who were saying it like, nah, this is bogus. We tired of this.
Yeah. What was it, like 6% of black women voted Republican, something like that.
See, I don't believe the numbers.
I
though.
think it was like 10%.
But let me. I will say this though.
Mhm.
I can't vouch for the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was growing up, I knew a lot of people in my family that didn't vote,
Mm-hmm.
but they being counted. Are they being counted?
Oh, I see.
So it's a situation where, let's say the vote. We know the voting's rigged. I mean, let's again, Amy Klobuchar on the record. She actually did a demonstration for a Senate committee of how the machines can be hacked.
Right.
During our race together, we did a debate, and she tried to come at me about being an election denier.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, once you on the record in front of a sitting committee saying that the Russians can hack our machines, hack the Dominion machines, and she got to twitching and fidgeting in her seat and shit.
Right.
So we know the elections got a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is that the conservative movement has been okay with allowing the narrative to stand that black people are actually voting this way.
Mm-hmm.
Black people may actually be in an agreement culturally, politically with the establishment's narrative, but may not be in fact voting that way.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know because we don't know the count. So what I'm saying is a black woman could agree with Kamala Harris ideologically.
Mm-hmm.
That don't mean she went to that booth and voted.
Yeah.
We assume because of what we see them say that they voted the way that they talk publicly.
Mhm.
But I don't agree with that. I don't believe that. I don't know how black people are really voting in this country. It's hard for me to say because I know a lot of black people don't vote.
Right.
But they're always counting them. And it's weird. Every election cycle, we're waiting for the votes to come in from the black neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right?
Why can't be,
We're
why
still
can't
waiting
they
for
be
a
the
lot
first?
of votes from, right?
Why can't they be the
It's
first?
we're all waiting on us. We're waiting for the votes to come in from this county here.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
this
drives
is,
me crazy.
this
There's
is
a lot of black
Douglas
people
County.
You gotta wait on the niggas to get
Yeah,
that.
right. You know,
You know they don't.
you know they were late to the polls is
Yeah,
what they really saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they late.
You know they was late to the polls. You know what I'm saying? So
We saw a huge Latino vote go right.
yeah.
They say 55%. That's what they say.
See, yeah, the Latinos is different because they come from a history and a culture where, you know, they know communism, they know socialism, they know totalitarianism.
Right.
You know,
Venezuela,
Cuba. Yeah,
Cuba.
come on, they ran from that.
Right.
That's another thing you ask Democrats and they can't answer.
Yeah.
You say, if communism and socialism is so good, why are these people fleeing from countries that are socialist and communist? They don't have an answer.
yeah.
Tim Walz, he didn't have an answer. He's just like, socialism is neighborliness.
Yeah, I think that kind of hurts black people because they grew up in America. They don't know what communism is, even though it's
True.
right there in their face here in America. They have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
True. No, you can ask, but you know, it's crazy how complex the history. Even I know how even Malcolm X got roped into that.
Mm-hmm.
Even he got roped into communism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was more favorable for communism, and at the time, you could say that the dichotomy politically worldwide was free market capitalism versus communism.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the face off.
Mm-hmm.
And black people and our black civil rights leaders saw communism in conjunction with a repudiation of capitalism, which was represented by white corporate, Wall Street sort of political power brokers, which was true at the time.
Right.
What they didn't see is that even at that time in the 60s, for example, even going back to World War II, Franklin Roosevelt, FDR, wasn't a staunch free market capitalist. He was more of a socialist than he was a nationalist or a capitalist, right? So the history of communism, the lineage of it goes way back and is on both sides of the aisle. But people like Malcolm X and those civil rights leaders in the 60s, they saw communism and socialism as a repudiation against
Capitalism.
And that's how they framed it, right? And there's a lot wrong with capitalism. At the highest level, I say this, and I said this on my show once, and people are like, what are you talking about? Like, just stay with me, bear with me. You know, at the highest level, there's no difference between communism and capitalism. At the highest level. And when I say the highest level, this is where the Republican Party scam gets as deep as it goes, right? Because communism, is an ideology. First of all, it's a European ideology. So again, if you're pro-black and you're anti-Eurocentric, how you become a Marxist blows my mind.
Yeah.
You're following a white German philosopher. Okay?
Right.
So, don't get no more white than German.
Right.
Karl Marx, German philosopher. You're following a German philosopher calling me a Nazi.
He was a German Jew, wasn't he?
He was a German Jew, that's right, who renounced his Jewish heritage, though. His father, he comes from a line, his father, rabbinical line, and he renounced his father's religious.
So he wasn't so bad, huh?
Oh, Daddy Marks. Daddy Marks probably sitting there, son, you saying there's no God?
Yeah.
Because the Jews, the one thing about the religious Jews, they pray all day, right? I mean, the Jewish tradition is like real, the real Orthodox Jewish tradition. They got merit to be saying the rest of y'all, y'all is sloughing on this faith stuff because they pray all day. I mean, they really live by it, and you can tell by the way they dress, right? And how they move. Not to say some of them ain't dressing and doing some other stuff, because they are. We saw some pedophiles get rounded up and they wearing the yarmulkes and the robes and everything. So there's some weird stuff going on. But anyway, Marx, his whole intention with Marxism was to reduce the human existence down to price. When you make everything about the have and the have-nots, the rich and the poor, what you're saying is everything is about money. First of all, there's nothing more evil than that.
Right.
To frame human existence as being a money-based thing.
Based on the value.
Right. And so his thing was if we can convince people that that the entire way they should evaluate their life is based on their material worth, you're reducing the human existence down to price.
Right.
Okay. Well, there's one group of people who believe in that, and they're more socialist based. They want to, have everybody on universal basic income or welfare, or there's this global welfare state brewing, right? There's another group of people who believe the same thing. And those would be called neocons.
Right.
Because war is explicitly an industry where the unit of price is correlated to the human value, right? And so when you say, we're going to go to war, at unrestricted, unlimited war, and the people don't matter because there's a price that we have to meet. There's an inventory that we have to meet. There's a demand. There's a turnover. There's a munition to person correlation. On the budget sheet. All you're saying is the same thing Marx is, and that's why the neocons are Marxists and communists, and they don't even realize it. People think Bush was a conservative. He's a Marxist. Which is why it's not hard to see why he favors and leans towards the liberal establishment when shit gets sticky. Right? Because underneath there, it's the same ideology. They just window dress it different. And for the Christians, they go, oh, well, we believe in God, though. And the abortion one is the one they go to most.
Right.
So, if we can get you to believe our stance on abortion, now we can properly frame the opposition and control the opposition. We're going to argue about, a young woman's. Right, and I'm not saying that's not an important issue because it is. Right? I've always said, like, the predicate to anti-human is no sanctity of life. So I agree with the abortion position at birth. They're going to say that I can't get elected because I'm saying that. But as a moral and ethical issue, I believe that. Now, as a legal issue, it's something different. And in the conservative movement, you're almost not even supposed to say that. See, because the way I think about it is, Christianity is supposed to be a voluntary submission to God. It's not supposed to be forced on you by the government. So our founding fathers were actually brilliant to make sure that the Christianity wasn't forced on its citizens by fiat.
It's not a theocracy here. It's never been.
Right. So, but in the conservative and Christian movement, some people do.
They do.
Believe that it should be law. You should have to be Christian. That's not a voluntary submission. You can't really love somebody or submit to somebody or respect somebody by force.
And then these pro-lifers, anti-abortion, they care about, a lot of times they care about more about the baby inside the womb instead of when you got kids out here dying every day.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right?
The kids in Gaza.
You see what I'm saying?
They pro-life on abortion, but Gaza, no, they terrorists.
This is my point. This is the neocon. This is the neocon.
Right.
But see, they represent themselves as Christians. So if I say I believe in God and I say I support Israel, all of a sudden I'm Christian enough to be called a conservative when really my business practice is communist. Right?
Right.
And that's what we're dealing with. That's the American, problem right now is that both parties are captured by a radical materialist and sort of communist, proto-communist ideology.
I think a lot of times, like, being a black gay woman and you're a Marxist and you're a Democrat doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I don't think they realize what's going on. The game is being played, just like these Republicans who's pro-Israel. They don't realize the game that's being played on them. I look at the aerial footage, drone footage of Gaza. That looks like a genocide.
There is no Gaza. Gaza's gone.
Right.
To be whatever is going to be renamed. It's no longer Gaza. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did exactly what they said. They did what Nikki Haley told them to do.
Right.
Yeah, they finished it. The only thing they didn't do was kill all. And you do gotta give some credit where credit is due. Israel has the arsenal to have. They could have killed all of those Palestinians. They could have.
Yeah, it's our money, our weapons, right?
They definitely could. Oh, for sure. Oh, we're paying for it. Yeah, now, and they could have killed all of them. They didn't. But what they did, in my opinion, is bad enough. Now, at the same time, again, the Palestinians. See, this is one of the highest levels of controlled opposition too. And I love when Bannon said, we're on every side of the trade. Somebody asked me, it was like, do you support funding for Israel? And I said, with conditions. And I said, but all of our foreign aid should be conditional.
Right. That's common sense.
That's common sense. And the condition should be we shouldn't be on every side of the world. Okay, if you want to support Israel and you want to say it's on a biblical basis, you better not let me catch you saying God isn't real. You better not let me catch you pushing this secular scientific revolution Darwin shit. Right? Because then we're not tied to them on a holy and biblical basis.
Right.
If we're going to fight a holy war against our religious enemies, then let that be it. But then you can't be giving money to our religious enemies too.
Right.
Who we do give money to.
Right.
The Saudis, the Yemenis, the Qataris, the Emiratis, the Egyptians, the Pakistanis. They're all getting a piece.
Right.
So it's like,
what the hell is going on?
Well, I tell you, and I told Dan this when we were talking. See, he thinks that the Jewish power and sphere of influence is the highest sphere. The highest sphere of influence in the society is always the people with the biggest guns. Always the people who you got to fear will actually come and kill you. And so that's where the conservative movement also has problems, because we have a natural affinity, affection for our military. For our soldiers, for our servicemen and women, veterans, right? But effectively,
Trump touts that a lot.
Every conservative does. You go to any conservative caucus, BPOU. I remember Tom Emmer came in. He comes into the Minnesota Republican Convention. He stands up. He's one of the first people to speak. He said, stand up if you served our country. Stand up if you support Israel. We will never abandon Israel. And the crowd goes, wow. And I'm just sitting there in the back like, wait till I get up here. Yeah. And I come up there and I'm like, globalism. And then it's like, the crowd goes wild again. And it's just they're pulling, pulling, that push and pull between, the controlled opposition Republican Party and the real, kind of MAGA base. But what I said was, you gotta, to Dan, was you gotta realize that America's zooming Israel. We're the ones using them. See, we think they're using us because they get to, beat their chest in the Middle East and they can bomb some Arabs who they, really don't have a lot of love for anyway. It's a huge beef there. It's been going on
between Christianity and Muslims.
Yeah, it's been going on for 2,000 years, though. It goes all the way back to the first Roman-Jewish War, right? I mean, that beef in that part of the world has been going on.
So you think United States is using Israel to do that dirty work?
No. I don't think we give a shit what happens over there. No, seriously. Okay. No, what we're doing is we have created a reverse vassal empire. So the vassal state is, I'm a smaller country, I'm a smaller town kingdom, I'm going to pay you, the big kingdom, to come and protect me. What we do is we pay them to protect them. Now you ask yourself, what bodyguard would bodyguard for no money and then even pay to bodyguard? I'm going to pay you to take a bullet for you. That shit don't make no sense.
Right.
Unless you realize that the business model is, if we have enough reverse vassal states, we have an unlimited justification to print money and steal it from our own taxpayers.
Well, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
Anybody out there in the empire, the international rules-based order, the global NATO alliance, or the United Nations, or the G20, or whatever. It's all a justification for us to print money, unlimited money, put our people in unlimited debt, and steal. That's what we're doing in the Middle East. The Middle East is the perpetual sort of revolving door to be able to print money. It's always a fight there that we need to be involved with. That's why I said bring the Jews out of there. Because now we get to see, is it why you want to be there so bad if the Jews are gone? Now Trump's saying bring the Palestinians out.
Mhm.
Let's see what y'all's excuse is to put all this, misappropriated, let's say, funds, money,
Right.
once this conflict's not going on anymore. So that's why I was telling Belzerian is like, in the sellout part about the Jewish elite that he's speaking about is they're willing to put their own people in the line of fire to seal the deal. Right? They're willing to play that role.
They want to see that happen.
Well, they'll play that role like, hey, we're in the line of fire. It's like, how did they roll up to the wall of Israel?
Yeah, with all that security they got. They got to be mighty damn incompetent.
Come on. And
yeah.
I mean, it's just anti-Semitic. You got 70,000 fucking cameras
Right.
on this wall here. And you mean to tell me all these Palestinians who you have all this great intelligence, remember, the huge excuse for why we're so closely allied with Israel outside of the religious affiliation is their intelligence in the region. Oh, they got all this intelligence.
Right.
Intelligence sharing. Oh, it's real sophisticated.
But I could hang glide right into your
I could get on a bicycle. I could roll up ET style on a bicycle with a propeller on it.
Yeah.
I'm just, with a missile launcher
Right.
on my bike.
Missile launcher.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Like
I got an
see it,
RPG on my bike, and I just roll up to the front wall of Israel. Come on, man. I mean, who y'all think? And I went off about this, and people got mad at me. I was like, y'all think we're stupid? I told Ben Shapiro, you must think we're your bitch. You must think America's your bitch. And then, in fact, it's crazy how this shit goes. Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin both said the same thing. They threatened us.
What?
Oh, the average American citizen doesn't even really understand what was being said. What they said was, if America doesn't come help us, then we're going to use the nuclear option.
Right.
You're forcing Israel to use nukes. So that's a lack of sacred honor.
Right.
The idea that if Israel got into a position where they had to fight to the death for the Temple Mount, and they would kill everybody in response is a real indictment of their moral fabric.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because if I'm really doing this for God and holy, and this is the flag right here, and we'll die. If we got to retreat back to this point, we'll die right here on this mount for what we believe in. The response isn't to kill everybody else.
Right.
The response is I'll die. And see, that's where the separation from the Jewish faith and the Christian faith is that the Christian faith is based on that self-sacrifice. That's what Jesus Christ embodied. The Jews haven't, many Jews, even religious Jews, haven't bridged that gap. When they do, they'll be Christians, right? It's Bibi Netanyahu, not a Christian. For all you evangelical conservatives out there who wave your Israel flag next to your American flag. These people are not Christians. They do not understand self-sacrifice, because anybody who did would never say, we're going to nuke you.
Right.
Okay? So Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, both said, if you do not help us, you are forcing us to use the nuclear option, and we will do it.
Yeah.
And so I came in and I said,
Do they have
fuck Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin. and you can't say fuck Mark Levin, because he's such a popular entity. I can say it because I told David Stern to keep his fucking money, to keep $100 million. You could keep it, G. So I can say fuck Mark Levin. And I don't care about any boomers who got a problem with it. You listen to his show. Listen to his show every day if you want to. He's still a neocon scumbag. And if you need an example, see, and this is how crazy it is. Mark Levin, the great one. All right. The voice is like, people don't know who Mark Levin is. So people forget when Reagan was in office, and how many Reaganites there are in the conservative movement. We love Ronald Reagan, who was also a former Democrat, and he did some good things, but he also gave birth to the security state, the modern security state.
Right.
And people should do well to remember in Republican politics, sort of insider baseball, that Reagan was a good dude. I really liked him, but he got bullied by the Bush junta. When he ran for re-election the second time, little George, George, he was little George. George's dad, George H.W., Herbert Walker, he primaried Levin to wedge himself in there as the vice presidential candidate. Reagan had overwhelming support, not only in the party, but in the country.
Right.
And Bush, Daddy Bush, decided the power play is, I'm going to primary Reagan. And Reagan was forced to basically decide if, in order to keep the conservative movement intact, right, unity, then this is the vice presidential candidate, right? I mean, he made Bush vice president.
Right.
Bush becomes vice president. He was director of the CIA, chairman of National Republican RNC. And then you got the CIA and the security state proliferated right there under Reagan. What's the greatest example? The greatest example of security state malfeasance, corruption in modern history was the Iran-Contra scandal. Where the Iran-Contras, the Sandinistas, the Contras, and the CIA are trading drugs, money, and weapons.
Yeah, how do you know all this? I was just a kid when all that shit happened.
Well, I mean, you know,
I remember
stumbled across a few things.
Yeah.
And people, and it's just natural when people want to come out and let me tell you how I found this out. Got into it with Jason Whitlock.
Jason Whitlock.
Shout out to my brother Jason Whitlock. Me and him ain't spoken in a year and a half. We got into a big dispute about this. He brings me on his show to ask me a question about Matt Gaetz.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So Matt Gaetz went to the well of the Congress and he said, this place is hollowed out with corruption, special interest, lobby money. All of you are in on it. Matt Gaetz. Gangster, one of the most epic moments in recent American history. All of you are bought off. Republicans and Democrats alike, all of you. We're getting McCarthy out. He's got to go. He went to oust McCarthy. Mark Levin goes on his show and says, Matt Gaetz is just a self-absorbed attention seeker. He doesn't have a plan. I don't necessarily like McCarthy either, but what's the plan? You know, fuck you, Mark. The plan is we're about to tell the truth. It's time for the truth now. We can't dance around it because the situation is too dire. And so I go on Jason's show and he's asking me about Matt Gaetz and this McCarthy oust. And I bring up Mark Levin. And I'm like, yeah, all these Republicans are sellouts. You got Mark Levin, you got, and he stopped me when I said Mark Levin.
Oh, he did.
Mid-show, I've been going on the show for a year and some change, and he stopped me. Mid-record, you know, Jason's show is pre-recorded. It's not live.
Right.
So he stops me pre-recorded, and he tells me, hey, Royce, let that be the last time you say Mark Levin's name. And I said, damn, for real? I was shocked.
Right.
You know, like I didn't keep pushing. I just stopped. I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to mention Mark Levin to articulate the neocon. This dude was just talking loud 24 hours ago, and you're asking about Matt Gaetz, and he called Matt Gaetz basically a fraud. Now, Matt's my boy. Now you fucking with that War Room posse. You fucking with that Bannon, and you know, you messing with our crew now. So now you, Matt, what? And I'm that one too. Like I would gladly debate Mark Levin anytime, any place. So anyway, so I say, you know, okay, I ain't gonna say nothing about Mark Levin. Come to find out, I go do a little research. Mark Levin, part owner in the Blaze with Glenn Beck.
What?
And then you got Glenn Beck online, almost in tears after Israel's attacked, begging Bibi Netanyahu and the higher rabbinical council for Jewish citizenship.
So they can't.
Yeah, you ever seen this video?
No.
You've never seen the video of Glenn Beck reading his handwritten request to Israel to become an Israeli citizen.
No, I haven't.
Please pull it up. It is one of the most. It is one of the most embarrassing things. I think I roll with Jews. I Jewish people I love, like they like family. I'm Christian. Jesus Christ was a Jew. All of that's good.
Right.
Bro, you're an American. Don't let me catch you online
but
begging.
There is something about the state of Israel that connects deeply to me.
See, Jewish?
To have the privilege to stand with the Jew is a tremendous honor. Spiritually. So I want to read a letter that I wrote that I am sending to the state of Israel.
That's crazy. That's cuckery right there.
You never seen this?
No.
I'm glad I came. If this is the only thing you see from me coming, I'm happy.
In this moment, I have chosen to ask you for citizenship in the state of Israel. I have nothing to offer but my voice of support. And some might say that my support might be more valuable as an independent voice. Perhaps they're correct.
But
my request for citizenship is not about words. It is about deeds. Why, one might wonder, would I want to embrace a heritage and identity that is so ruthlessly hunted down again and again? Yet it is precisely during such moments that we must choose to stand. I anticipate no privileges or exemption from the state of Israel. I instead yearn to align myself with those willing to rise, to fight, and sacrifice for the fundamental right to live. Is this not what both Israel and America embody?
Not really.
In closing, my desire for dual citizenship does not stem from any expectation of gain, but from a deep-rooted belief in standing with what is right and true. 10 years ago, I took my children to Israel for the first time, but we first visited Auschwitz in Poland. I told them, you cannot understand Israel without the Bible or Auschwitz. May Israel remain an eternal flame of hope, a beacon of resilience, and a testament to the enduring human spirit.
Like he's got a gun to his head.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and here's the crazy thing about it. One is that he's reading it like that.
Right.
Why are you reading it with the effect like that? I mean, if it really is that close to you,
You don't have to read
You don't
it.
have to read it.
you don't have to read it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a woke right poem he just read. That's the woke right. No, seriously.
Right,
This
yeah,
is the woke right.
Yeah.
Right.
This right here is the woke right controlled opposite. So my point in showing you that was he was the boss at the Blaze.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a regular on Jason Whitlock. Never asked for no money to come on this show. I'm just like, I'm going to tell the truth. You know, these type of conversations we have where we get into deep geopolitical kind of nuts and bolts. And I'm going on the show doing that, right? So we get into it, and I'm off the show. He don't want me on the show no more. Because I went on about Mark Levin. And so I did a podcast and responded and just broke the whole thing down about Mark Levin. And so Mark and Glenn were partners. Mark helped put the money up, you know, was a partner with the Blair. So my point is, like, here's who Mark Levin is. Everybody remembers Reagan and the Iran-Contra scandal. Who people would normally, you know, so Oliver North.
Yeah, that's who I remember.
Okay, right? That's the first name that comes to mind. Oliver North fell on his sword for the Reagan administration. And he got a slap on the wrist. Light. Black communities all across the country flooded with cocaine, but coordinated through the CIA. Taxpayer money. Taxpayer money funded drug trafficking in black communities all across this country well before Obama ever even thought about wetting his little pecker in the political, you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, so the whole scandal goes down, and Reagan, you know, says he was, you know, plausible deniability, which very well may have been, because we saw that people did stuff under Trump that he didn't know about. General Milley, who should be brought up on treason charges. But Reagan says, I didn't know. And so Attorney General at the time, Edwin Meese, defended not only Reagan, but really defended and shielded for the entire Iran-Contra scandal. He helped water it down because, and his excuse was Reagan was kind of at the center, so if the Iran-Contra thing got too big, it would tarnish Reagan's legacy. But in effect, what he really was defending was what would later become the proliferated footprint of our security state. And the intelligence community that 51 officials said the Biden laptop was fake. Right? That's what came from it.
Yeah.
And guess who Edwin Meese's general counsel was? Mark Levin.
Wow.
His head attorney, like Goldberg, was Mark Levin. So when Edwin Meese was doing all of the grunt work to try and defend the Iran-Contra scandal, the person who he was counseling with is Mark Levin. People don't even remember that Mark Levin was the attorney, was his chief of staff. He was his chief of staff.
Damn.
He was Edwin Meese's chief of staff. You know, a chief of staff, it don't get no closer. Your chief of staff is with
right-hand
you,
man.
especially as the Attorney General of the United States. Your chief of staff has probably got a better feel for everything that's going on than you do. Because he's got to try and, you know, make sure your time is properly used, right?
Right.
So Mark knew everything that was going on, right? That's who he is. This is the neocon element that is the most dangerous thing in this country now. Even with Donald Trump winning, the neocon establishment, the Republican old guard, is the most dangerous thing to the free world. More dangerous than any radical leftist LGBTQ purple-haired liberal saying they're Antifa. You know, it's such a conservative thing how scared we are of Antifa.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Antifa, they're coming. It's like Muslims are coming. Then now it's so woke. It's Antifa's coming. No, they're not. They're not that hard.
Right.
I will slap 10 Antifa in a row. Knockouts would be 100%. Seriously, I had 100% knockout rate. No, seriously.
Tyson rate, huh?
You know what I mean? Because they're not really like that.
Yeah.
They're only cosplaying as militant revolutionaries.
Right. Yeah.
The Muslims different now. The Muslims, they're going to play.
They'll blow your shit up.
They're going to play.
Yeah.
But the most dangerous thing is the security state, the people who try to take Donald Trump out.
Mm-hmm.
They're the dirtiest. They're the grimiest.
That's what Trump is dealing with.
Yeah, and
especially in Gaza.
And to be honest, I love Donald Trump. You know, we support the president 100%.
Right.
And the War Room Posse, the MAGA movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he's willing to go through this, then you know we're willing to go through it with him.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows there's limits,
Right.
because he's close enough. He's played the game at a level beyond what the people see.
Right.
And that's why a lot of things that he does without being too intimate in the conversations, I give him some grace on the choices he makes, because some is we got to win now, some is there is a long haul. And they will take him out. And so he's done a very, very good job, in my opinion, of towing that line because we needed him to at this moment in history. We needed him. I think only he could have won. You know, because of his profile, the celebrity. He did come from a liberal background. He was a hospitality business, so you got to be good with people to be in the hospitality business and be successful. So I think we needed him, but he knows there's limits. And those limits are the limits that the younger Republican and MAGA movement have to plan on. He's opening the door still, right? He's carving the path. The next generation of MAGA movement, like me and you guys and other people, we got to be willing to take a bullet to actually to do away with the corruption completely. Because they'll kill him, and he knows. I mean, he knows the security state. He knows how dangerous they are. Right. And you know, to make no mistake about it, people think, oh well, you know, look. Look, all you got to do is go and listen. First of all, the way that they recruit CIA people, they recruit sociopaths and psychopaths. That's what the military does. They find minds that are moldable, that will do what the business is of the military. Right. And on the intelligence community side, when you're talking about assassins and whatnot, there are people out there who may love this country, who may talk about their patriotism, you know, who may say they signed up for all the right reasons. You know, the Muslims are coming. But they will put a bullet in Donald Trump's head for the right price. People got to understand that. Right. And you know, so he's in danger. And the danger has just begun. I think people kind of feel like we won and it's, you know, everything is going in the right direction. I'm more scared than I've ever been. When he talks about a hemispheric defense, a North American bloc, now he's getting into the danger zone. Now he's really disturbing the world order. Last time he pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. That's superficial. You know, that's WWE, right? You know, this Green New Deal is a scam. The ocean levels at Ellis Island are the same they were when the European immigrants came. When the Jews, when they came through Ellis Island, the water's the exact same level as it was back then.
Right.
Yeah. But when you talk about we're going to take Canada and Mexico and we're going to protect the Arctic and acquire Greenland and we're going to take control of the Panama Canal, now he's playing for real. And they will kill him. Yeah.
What do you think about what Trump and Elon's doing with Doge?
Love it.
Yeah.
Lance that boil. Yeah, you got to lance that boil. You got to see how much pus is under there.
Right.
Yeah, pull that Band-Aid right off. And we already see it.
Yeah.
You talking about
Crazy stuff.
Fascism?
Yeah.
State-sponsored media? The USAD?
Playing for magazine subscriptions?
Come on,
Yeah.
Bill Kristol? Another neocon warmonger.
Yeah.
Getting paid.
Yeah. Funding all these illegal immigrants to come to our country. Our own government was funding that.
What was the excuse, though? See, this is what I mean, back to that black and Jewish identity. The people of Mozambique need condoms.
Yeah.
It's always a black, it's funny, but it really ain't funny.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the people in Mozambique need condoms. Yeah. Thank you. No, Bill Gates is another great example. Bill Gates talking about population control. I find a video of Bill Gates one day saying, population control ain't really the big issue. You know, it looks like the world population is gonna peter out at about 10 billion. I think we can handle that.
Right.
The real issue isn't population. The real issue is population growth in countries that can't handle it.
Right.
And he went to a cutaway. He went to a cutaway graphic, and every country on it was black and Arab.
Right.
That's fucking racism.
What is
Now
that?
that is racism.
Yeah, it's eugenics, right?
That is the highest level of post-World War II Democrat liberal order establishment, sort of scientific, managerially, globalist, Davos, Switzerland racism.
Right.
And these black people, they love Bill Gates. It's like he just wants to give us vaccines.
Yeah, he's a Democrat.
He wants the Mozambique people to have condoms so they stop having babies. It got nothing to do with HIV.
Right.
You know, and if HIV, and we don't even know what's real about HIV still. They're still trying to show me commercials of PrEP. And you know, without saying it, the 4 out of 5 couples are gay.
Yeah. Just everybody in commercials gay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They don't want to come out and say,
Yeah.
this is a homosexual disease.
Right.
You know, either you're homosexual or you dipping in both pools.
Right.
They don't want to just come out and say that. So this is going to
Taking things that are, you know, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's good. I mean, good enough. You get who we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But I mean, but they're saying the U.S. aid, you know, do the people of Mozambique really need condoms? No. You know, maybe. I mean, my thing is how HIV is spread is like the men are not infecting the women.
It's men infecting men.
Okay, and then there's a lot of maybe there's some both ways going on in Africa, and that's possible. But what we see in America statistically is that you got to do anal. That's going to be the way that it, and maybe men who have HIV and anal with women. Now, women do have a better chance of contracting it from a man than a man from a woman, right? Because the nature of the sex is man to woman, the penetration is tearing, and you know there's that type of situation. So maybe they have an HIV epidemic in Africa, but who am I trusting?
Yeah.
And am I trusting the government, which is what Doge is saying, is like, are we trusting these bureaucrats to give us an accurate number for how much the condoms cost?
Right.
And that's what we got to start to Lance now. It's like, all right, now we're gonna actually do an account. No more happy talk about the people of Mozambique needing condoms. And we went for that in the first place. I mean, that's how.
Yeah. That's crazy. And a lot of Republicans didn't do anything about it.
Oh, they're in on it. See, because whether it's condoms or it's international security, it's all the same. It's all the same scam.
Right.
So our national interest.
Yeah, I want to talk
the
about
people
this.
of Mozambique.
I want to bring up this AIDS stuff.
Yeah.
Why is it that like it spreads among gay people so prevalent? Just like monkeypox, they tried to play that same game with monkeypox.
It's a homosexual disease. The reason why the clinical explanation, the sort of scientific explanation they say is because two men fucking each other is going to be an exchange of blood and tearing. Is that homophobic?
No, man, that was real technical. It's medical.
It's anti-Semitic. Is that anti-Semitic? It is. That's what I mean, if you go to a doctor and ask them.
Right. Yeah.
If you even take 5 minutes to look it up and go, why is it more prevalent with homosexual men? It's going to say that's why.
Right.
So
all that skin ripping and blood.
And they tend not to look. I mean, why? No.
You don't have to worry about getting a man pregnant too.
Well,
and so it's a lot of unprotected.
There you go. That's one of those subtle kind of cultural nodes that people misses. If you're gonna go over the hill, sexually like that, you tend to do away with any of the protections, right? So there's a lot of
can't get that nigga pregnant.
a lot of unprotected gay sex happening too, right? So
right.
Shout out to all the LGBTQs out there that roll with the MAGA movement and see citizenship as important, and they want a closed border. Right. They don't like how the LGBTQ is being used. There's a lot of gay people out there who are not in support of how their stuff is being used either. So I'm not trying to knock them, but it is ridiculous that they try to make it seem like HIV wasn't a homosexual disease.
Right.
Now, all the PrEP commercials got.
But they got
4 gay couples.
Transgenders, and it's all gay.
Yeah. This dude, he's got like a long sleeve 3/4 knit shawl,
right,
with a nose ring, and he's in a posh apartment that's got like a vase of tulips. and it's like, and, he's like on the phone and like just the subtle, marketing of it. The subtle marketing of it is like when you see the name that he's texting, it says John.
Right.
But we're not going to say this is a gay disease. It's just like, come on, man. What's up? What
do
we
you think
doing?
this was created in a lab to attack gay people?
Damn, that's deep.
Because why? Because it just came out of nowhere in the 80s, and a bunch of gay people was dying.
Well, they said
That's
COVID
deep.
came from bats and something.
Well, they said it
All
came
that
from
stuff.
somebody doing it with a monkey.
Yeah, well, that's a crazy. No, that was racist. Now there you got to say. See, this was direct.
Yeah, they said black people was having sex with monkeys.
But see, these white liberal scientists, they've been racist.
Right.
They say the same thing with the, is China man eat bat, Africa man bang monkey, right?
Right.
That's their narrative. No matter, and do Chinese, do they got wet markets and stuff like that? Okay, cool. But to just say that, the COVID started from a Chinese man eating a bat.
Bat soup.
Come on, man. How racist you gonna get? The Chinese people sitting there like, hold on, what? What you talking Asian hate?
Yeah.
This is Asian hate. You saying I don't eat, with the pangolins. I just took a pangolin off the branch and busted it open and started drinking the blood type of. Come on, man. But the African man fucking a monkey.
Yeah.
I mean, is that?
I bet you it's creating a lab.
Yeah, it's got to be.
The gain of function research. Shout out to RFK Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Got confirmed as the Secretary of Health, and we're gonna lance that boy too.
Mm-hmm.
He got to watch out. See, because it's hard. It's more difficult to whack a president. Is it come with a lot of blowback from that. That's an expensive hit.
Right.
Not say they can't do it, but health secretary,
Yeah.
one who apparently everybody's okay with his family getting assassinated anyway.
That's true.
And I don't wish that upon him. That's my boy. But he got to be careful. Donald Trump needs to put full Secret Service detail. He needs his own detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that health boil is going to be bad. We're going to find a lot of bad shit in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people going to be implicated, and there's going to be a lot of military, right? Because the R&D of the medical industrial complex and the military industrial complex go hand in hand, right? And all medical, what's the famous scientific experiment that they did? I'm thinking of it. Where they were giving the dudes LSD.
Yeah.
MK Ultra, right?
Yeah.
And that's a medical experiment facilitated by a military agency, a military apparatus, where they were actually taking CIA brothels. They were taking CIA houses, and they were turning them into brothels. CIA, and they were watching the Johns have sex hyped up on the drugs behind the two-way mirror. CIA.
That's crazy.
So when you say Fauci, it's like when I see a Fauci, I think, oh, this is a freaky little freak boy.
Right.
Freaky boy, because that whole industry, they tie hand to hand. And this,
Right.
at the end of the day, experimentation on humans is going to get a little weird. And
Yeah.
it's like we found, Eli Crane just testified, had a committee, and $241 million went to transgender animal experiments.
Right. That's crazy.
So none of the
monkeys and
animals,
stuff.
did they consent to this?
Yeah.
Did they tell you that they felt like a woman inside?
That's crazy. You take
Did
the
the men,
monkeys.
did the men armadillos say, I really feel like a woman in the morning?
That's
No,
crazy.
They just cut his thing off.
Yeah.
That's weird, man.
Yeah. It's beyond weird.
No, it's just
Fucking
like
crazy.
it's more weird because the end game is not like verifiably do any good for humans. Like if you're telling me, all right, we're going to test, let's say, I don't know, for something like cancer research, right? And we're going to see if this rat who has cancer, stage 3 kidney cancer, we're going to see if this medication, puts him in remission, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. I get it. Even there's some ethical question in that.
Yeah.
Right.
But it makes sense though.
Industrial farming, right? Chickens. Like, okay, if we don't mass farm these chickens and the eggs, you ain't gonna have enough eggs for everybody. It's 450 million people live in this country. There's a lot of eggs that get purchased. Okay, I got you. Do you want to cut a hamster's genitals off and then put him on ecstasy to see how he responds? And not only that, cool. If you want to do that, look, if you want to go down to your local PetSmart,
Yeah, you gotta be a sick puppy to do
hey,
that shit.
but I'm saying in a more libertarian sense.
Right.
If you want to go on down to PetSmart, your local PetSmart, and get a hamster, and you want to cut his genitals off, and you want to slip him a Mickey.
That's great.
That's some Jeffrey Dahmer stuff right there.
Hey, but I'm with you. Okay, that's on you. You're an American.
Right.
Now, Peter might have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But you're an American. But to spend $250 million of taxpayer money is a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the American people got to start to be interested in. You got to start to take offense. Like, you know, if you want to cross-dress on the weekends, cool. I mean, I'm not with you. I don't want to party with you.
Yeah.
I don't want to walk around and hang with you. I don't want to be in a group chat with you.
Right.
But if that's what you feel you need to do, you're an American. You can cross your, 6'6" man. He's got hair on his knuckles and on his shoulders, and you want to wear a cocktail dress. You're an American.
Yeah.
But don't tell my kids at the school that you forced to go to that they got to do it. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. That's got to be money laundering. It's got to be. Yeah. $240 million. Okay, I see a couple of meals.
$250 million. That's a lot of ecstasy, a lot of gerbils, and a lot of penis cutting.
Yeah. Imagine how many hamsters' dicks you got to cut.
What do you think they're doing with the what do you think they're doing with the hamster dicks?
I don't even want to think about it. I didn't even go down that road.
Well, just by the experiment standards.
You're probably putting them on rats.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Go transplant this hamster cock and put it on this gerbil.
Can the gerbil function right?
Right. Yeah.
And then they're jerking them off to see if it works, to see if they get aroused, The arousal experiment, take one.
Yeah.
It's just, this is where we're at.
Hey, y'all, we're going to let y'all in a little secret.
Can I tell them our secret? Come here.
When you think of precious metals, you probably think about gold and silver. But there's another valuable metal out there that y'all most likely ain't thinking of. It's tungsten. Yeah, tungsten.
What the hell is even that?
We didn't know what the hell it was either, but we're going to tell you why it's so important. Yeah, tungsten is the metal that they use to make all the military weaponry you can think of. Firearms, bullets, missiles, tanks, aircraft, satellites, rockets, and all kinds of other toxically masculine things. What the hell you need gold for, or silver? Hey, and the craziest thing is 90% of the world's tungsten production is controlled in China, Russia, and North Korea. That's crazy as hell.
That doesn't make sense.
What's even more crazy is the U.S. has not mined tungsten since 2015. So we have been 100% reliant on other countries to give us the key material to make all our critical military gear. But with Trump back in office, all of that is about to change. American Tungsten is one of the main companies leading the way to get America's tungsten production back to what it used to be. American Tungsten used to be the 5th largest tungsten mine in the United States, but stopped production in 2010. But they are starting operations back up now that Trump is reopening American industries.
We will drill, baby, drill.
They are reopening their mines right here in America and doing it humanely and ethically, unlike other overseas competitors. Yeah, tungsten has the highest melting point of any metal, which means it's the hardest and most durable metal. That's what makes it so valuable for weapons manufacturing, computer processing technologies, and energy production.
It's made of pure tungsten, which is 2.5 times denser than steel.
To learn more about what American Tungsten is doing and to see how you can invest in tungsten mining in America, go to AmericanTungstenCorp.com and tell them the Hodgetwins sent you. Yeah.
And I'm the crazy one.
Yeah.
I'm the far right wing conspiracy theorist.
We're nuts.
We're all crazy.
All of us are nuts.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Crazy.
That's crazy. I bought a lot. That what you brought up about Mark Levin. I bought all his books. I was the biggest Ben Shapiro supporter, and I don't like what's going on in Israel now. I just lost all respect, because if you say you're a pro-life conservative, then why in the hell are we doing this to the Palestinian people?
They're all Hamas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's their excuse.
Yeah.
And see, then that, again, when you go back to, and I talk about the neocon thing all the time, people get afraid. They're like, you won't stop. It's just like, it's the biggest, it's the most obvious scam. All these Republicans, conservatives, American patriots, they wear their flag, and so you have to have their 1776. I always tell people, you get the choice now. Do you want to live in a 1776 America or a 1945 America? The 1776 America is, I have the right to own a gun. I have a right to have a community of people who I'm closely connected with that I can count on and rely on in a bad situation to come to my aid in a militarized effort to defend our sovereignty, our individual sovereignty. And I have the Second Amendment. Now I can speak about whatever I want, whether that be the current president or Israel or China or gays or Christians or I get to say whatever I want.
Right.
The post-World War II Democrat liberal order, so aptly named, is a whole different. Eric Weinstein said this brilliantly, and he's no conservative himself. He's not a right-wing conspiracy theorist. He's like nominally a Democrat, voted Democrat most of his life, and he said it perfect. He said, there are two forms of democracy. There's a democracy of the people, for the people, by the people, and then the democracy that they're talking about, and talking about the liberal establishment, they're talking about the democracy that was agreed upon and sort of is protected by institutions after the Second World War.
Yeah.
The load-bearing walls, they call it, of the international rules-based order. That's what they mean when they say democracy. So when they say Trump's a threat to democracy, it's a dog whistle for globalism. They're not saying genuine democracy, because we know they don't believe in that.
Right.
They're talking about the international rules-based democracy. And, it's crazy that, it's people, Republicans, they're all for the expansion, proliferation of a security state and military state if we're going to fight the Muslims. If we're going to fight those dangerous, pesky, crazy Arabs.
Man, they don't even want to mess with us. The only reason why they mess with us is because our stance with Israel.
And what we've done to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
what makes a man hijack our 747 and drive into the World Trade Center?
They don't
fly, yeah. They fly into the World Trade Center. They just evil terrorists? I don't believe that.
Well, and I mean, there's some evil people out there, right?
Yeah,
but theirs has definitely been concentrated and sort of militarized, right? So there, we got crazy people here that would do similar things,
right?
But it's not militarized, right? They don't have thought leaders that are organizing all the crazies and saying we're starting to now. I mean, that's the Antifa movement,
right?
I mean, we're in the earliest days of Antifa becoming a pro-military, a paramilitary sort of militia, right? But at the end of the day, I think they don't believe in anything enough to really go all the way. Even in old communist nations like Mao, China, and Russia, these people had a sense of national pride and honor that allowed them to dig deep and really carry out that type of heinous. These people are squeamish.
Yeah.
Right? And you get a couple who are crazy enough, and then they're like, they're mea culpas, they're in tears, they can't believe what they've done. It's like, they're not real hard.
Right.
Like the Islamists are like, no, I'm gonna die for this and I'm good with it. And I take a sense of pride in it, actually. Right. I'm not apologizing.
It's in their religion, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's militarized, right? Muhammad was a warlord. There's a big difference between him and Christ. But I will say we got two bad choices. Right, we got our own national security state apparatus, and then we got a group of people out there who are hostile towards America. And I don't necessarily buy that it's all of what we've done to them. And, you got to remember that the Arab Empire and the Persian Empire were very, very effective slave-taking nations themselves.
Right.
Right. I mean, these aren't great people who it's not in a vacuum. Like, the Arab world just popped up and these people were just minding their own business. Now, if they could have done what the British Empire did first, they would have done it. And I don't take their claims of what people are, what the people in Palestine are. A good example is, okay, the Egyptians in the Arab world. If you don't like, why didn't you take the Palestinians in?
Yeah, they don't want to take them out.
No, they don't want them. No, Jordan, they don't want them. Nobody wants to take them in. So it's like, okay. So, the whole Arab thing anyway, this is another scam. It's like, there's 1 billion Muslims. Okay, there's 1 billion Christians, and the Pope is saying that, let's take the vaccine, right? So, you mean to tell me this? What I'm saying is the Muslim faith is even more decentralized. You got your leaders, but it's very decentralized because
they don't have a Pope.
They don't have that centralization. It's over such the biggest Muslim population is in no, it's in it's one of the Asian countries. It's not Malaysia. It's look it up. It's not the Philippines either. Anyway, it's in an Asian country. It's not even in the Middle East, right? The biggest Muslim population. And so it's like, are those Muslims about to ride out for the radical?
Right.
So don't say 1 billion.
Right.
Give me a real number.
Right.
How many radical?
Kazakhstan.
No, in the whole world.
Yeah, Kazakhstan.
What's the biggest one in Asia?
I think that's considered Asia. Isn't it?
No, I mean Southeast Asia.
Mm.
It's not Malaysia.
Mm.
But anyway, but you give me a real number, right? And it's just like the Muslim hordes are going to rise up. And well, we saw when Israel was attacked, all the Muslims had a chance to play, right?
Right.
They all got up. Erdogan, right? President of Turkey, he gives a big speech in front of hundreds of thousands of Turks and says, "East versus the West, cross versus crescent. We will not bend. We will retaliate."
Right.
He's sitting there with a couple of NATO's nukes. He's got our nukes, putting Turkey NATO alliance. Okay, so are we going to let them keep our nukes? Are they going to let Turkey stay in NATO? Or what are we doing here? And so, did they bust a grape? Turkey didn't flinch.
Right.
Hell, Iran let off a couple of, but even they were real.
Right.
And so it's just like, okay, so now you want me to believe that, people, the Chechens, the Afghanis, who we funded, by the way, going back to Reagan, the first people to bring the Mujahideen into the Oval Office was Reagan, which became the Taliban, which supposedly we went to Afghanistan to fight. Right. Although Osama bin Laden was never a part of the Taliban, he was a part of Al-Qaeda, which was a Saudi-funded, Pakistani-based terrorist group. And now all of a sudden we find Osama bin Laden, SEAL Team 6, we find Osama bin Laden, we kill him in the middle of the night, and we give him a sea burial?
Right.
Okay. Number one terrorist in the history of America, responsible for the greatest American fatalities, a fatal incident since Pearl Harbor. And we gave him a sea burial because it was the Navy. You guys, your ceremony's that important.
Right.
No, if he was, and I'm saying this as a point because people bought into this.
Right.
Yeah, we bought into that the Patriot Act should justify the American government surveillance and security state surveilling all and taking our privacy away.
Right. Everything that happens to us is basically everything you read here from the left, right, especially the right, everything's a lie.
Oh my God. Dude, Osama bin Laden's head we should have brought his head back and it should have been on a pike in front of the White House or at Ground Zero as a warning to all these other people who aspire to great terrorist, agendas.
Right.
His head should have been on a pike. They gave him a sea burial. Why? To your point, we were shamed. That's why you buried the number one terrorist in American history in the cover of night at sea. You're ashamed because he was walking around with American money in his pocket. I remember after 9/11, I got one of them crazy photo memories. I was like 11 years old at the time, 12 years old, 6th grade. I remember when the planes hit, we were in class. They just started putting TVs in classes. And they, everybody was scared. And I remember the next day, Dick Cheney was on MSNBC.
Dick Cheney.
Yeah, Tricky Dick and his daughter Liz, Rhino neocon extraordinaires, Kamala Harris. Yeah.
Right.
Republicans, but
She
Republicans against Trump. No, it's crazy. That lost her the election.
Yeah.
Unspokenly, that was a death nail. This Dick Cheney, come on, you guys are scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
This dude is a straight up war criminal. No, for real. I mean, he's straight up and down. Like by all men, if you're going to say Palestine is a crime against humanity, then Dick Cheney is a war criminal.
Right.
Right. So that I got to keep the stand. But I remember Dick Cheney going to MSNBC.
Right. MSNBC.
Yeah, Rachel Maddow and company. Back then it was Scarborough before Mika cucked him out. But so he's explaining how we're going to go on this, this crusade in the Middle East against terrorism. And he says, Pakistan. Because the guy asked him, he's like, well, what do you think about Pakistan? What do you think? No, Pakistan, we've had contact with Pakistan. They say they support us in our fight against terrorism. They had nothing to do with this. Right? And, they want to make sure that our strategic alliance continues to develop. Back then, Pakistan was on the early side of developing their nuclear program. They didn't have nukes yet. They had just got the okay to start a nuclear program. So we're working in close conjunction with them already because of their developing nuclear program. We're keeping a close eye on. Pakistan says they're going to help us. You know where they found Osama bin Laden? They found him in a compound with 15-foot walls and security cameras and barbed wire down the street from a Pakistani military base.
That's crazy.
Intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's okay, call me a conspiracy theorist, but either one or two things. Either our relationship with Pakistan ain't worth ain't worth a shit because their military can't even recognize when the number one terrorist in the world is sitting right down the street from them, or they're in on it.
Got to be in.
And maybe they're in on it, and maybe we're in on it with them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we knew that Osama bin Laden was hiding in Pakistan the whole time, and we just waited for the right moment to close the chapter on that book. It's called A Cutout, right? It said he was the cutout. He was the radical Islamist who was willing to put his face and his brand on this movement of terrorism all around the world to justify the inventory and fleecing and sort of money printing of the military-industrial complex. He was willing to play and a supervillain. And then all of a sudden, when the time comes and we spent enough money and people are getting tired of being in Afghanistan, and the poppy magically goes from 3% when we get to Afghanistan to 97%, and now the whole world has an opioid epidemic. So I tell people, what'd you get for your war in Afghanistan? They go, oh, nothing. Oh, no, you got something, motherfucker. Oh, yeah, you know, you're for real. Your sons and daughters are out here popping ecstasy that's laced with a smidget of fentanyl that's going to kill them. That's what you got for your war in Afghanistan. And all you people that defend us, we're standing, we're going to, our troops, we love the troops, support them. And if you criticize the war, then you're criticizing the troops. Are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
We got, the poppy went from 3% to 97%. These people are brazen as fuck. You know, if I'm going to do a scam, right, I'm going to try and make it look decent. I'm going to go from 3% to like 25. Right? It's like, I'm going to do 20%.
Yeah.
3% of the world's poppy production when we went to Afghanistan, when we left in disgrace and left the Afghan people who we said we were there to try and bring into the modern world, who we spent billions of dollars in federal money like AID to teach their young women about liberation and birth control. And then we left them there in a cloud of smoke, and now we pay the Taliban $15 million a week at ransom so they don't hurt their own Afghan people, right? So when you say that the Middle Easterns are just mad at us, no, they took their own people hostage, put a gun to their head and said, if you don't give us money, we'll kill these motherfuckers. We'll kill these Afghanis, our own people.
Right.
Yeah, so they're not good people. But my point is, you went to 97% of the world's poppy production. You didn't even stop at 50. You could have stopped at 60. 70. You went all the way to the top, which means you're a scumbag. You're a scoundrel.
Well, at least they didn't go to 100.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is who Dick Cheney and them are, though.
Yeah.
This is who they are. And the craziest thing is I still go to these Republican Party caucuses, BPOU events, and they still running the same ex-military veteran scams, heartstring story. You know? It's like the guy they ran against me in the primary. Remember? Joe Frazier, 20 years in the Navy, served in the Afghanistan war, served in the Iraqi war. Well, tell us about the $2 trillion that went missing from the Department of Defense, Joe. Or you just don't know how the process of acquisition works. I do. You know, that's why I work at Wells Fargo now in acquisition, right? Because I know how to effectively, what Doge is saying they're doing, what they're actually doing. But he was there for 20 years doing it in the military. $2 trillion. If you or I lost 100,000.
So if I lost $50.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I'm talking about legally, like the IRS. Like, let's say you come upside down, you like down 50 grand with the IRS, 100 grand.
Right.
Yeah.
They lean in your home, they season you, they threatening you, they bringing you, dragging you in court, all this shit. $2 trillion. People, when you hear it, million, billion, trillion, people don't even really, it's hard for them to get it because they just use
billion is 1,000 million.
Come on, okay, I'm gonna give you a visual. Because exponential math, you hear the numbers so often, million, billion, trillion, you're like, oh, whatever, you know. $100 million stacked up in $100 bills as tall as this table. $1 million, $100 bills stacked up on each other, tallest table. $1 billion tall as the tallest building on Earth.
That's crazy.
$1 trillion would reach the space station.
$100 bills.
$100 bills stacked up would reach the space station, $1 trillion. The Department of Defense lost $2 trillion in one audit, and nobody saw any court. No charges.
That's
and we
crazy.
still got Republicans in the party showing up to these caucus and BPOU meetings cucking for the military. And it's not about the troops. It's about the institution. And you got to separate the two, but we have trouble doing that because it's our heartstrings. And then they march Kaepernick out there. Let me show you how the scam really gets deep. They wheel Kaepernick out, on his trike with the political kitty wheels on. Right. He's got the afro and he's got the black leather jacket like the Black Panthers. And Vogue magazine gives him a Black Panther cover. Right. And then Disney gives him a $100 million contract for some movie production company. Have you seen a Colin Kaepernick movie yet? I ain't seen one. I ain't even seen a documentary. God damn, they gave you $150 million and you didn't even get a doc. Okay, so all right, they wheel you out, and now your job is to foment this fealty, this sort of love, this kind of soft spot for the military. He kneeled during the anthem. And all you saw was the counter culture of the conservative movement and conservative media rally around the identity of the troops, which then becomes a shield for the military. And now if you question the military, now it's like, oh, well, what, you one of those Kaepernick Negroes? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, no, I actually don't like this dude, but I definitely don't like you losing $2 trillion of the American people's money. Right. And the crazy part is, if y'all could, a lot of y'all would actually arrest Kaepernick for what he did. Yeah. But Dick Cheney is cool. Yeah. And you'll let Dick Cheney still run around in the park. It's like Karl Rove. Same guy. Came from the Bush junta, the Bush faction of the and even the people who are patriots, they talk that 1776 shit. But when push comes to shove, they got a Mitt Romney. It's like with me now, I'm running in Minnesota in the Republican establishment, the little, the Emirites. They already popping up. Well, Royce is unelectable. He can't win. He lost by 16 points. I gained 8 points on an incumbent with no money and no support from the Steve Daines of the world, another neocon rhino extraordinary, Mitch McConnell's bitch.
You didn't have any money from the Jewish lobby either.
Oh, AIPAC wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole. Yeah. Even with Jewish people around me. Must not be the right Jews. Just like I must not be the right Negro. Right. You know what I'm saying? But AIPAC, AIPAC wouldn't even come close. And so these people, they say exactly who they are. It's like Ron DeSantis. I'll give you another example. Yeah. Big Ron DeSantis move. I'm gonna get shit for this. I'm gonna lose votes. I'm losing votes. But that's who I am. I'm gonna say it like it is. You vote for me, I'm like a used car salesman. You know what I mean? Ain't a lot of bells and whistles on this motherfucker. You gonna buy this motherfucker, you ain't. You know what I'm saying? Right. This motherfucker, 5,000, here's a Carfax. And you can buy it or you don't. To me, it don't matter. So Ron DeSantis, they asked him about Russia. And he went on to say, that Russia attacked Ukraine unprovoked. Subtle, but right there, I know who you are. Right. Went to Yale, part of that Ivy League Atlanticist elite. And, I'm MAGA. So, if I start a cultural wedge war down in Florida with Disney, and I said, don't say gay. And I got my little boots on, the don't say gay boots. The wedges, grown-ass man wearing platforms and his, stilts in his shoes. Like, these are issues I'm 6'8". I never even thought about that. Yeah. I can't relate to that shit. You know what I mean? I can't even relate.
I think he's like 5'8", 5'9".
I get it. You're short, but that's okay, man. Yeah. Just talk that real shit. I don't care how short you are. Yeah. You can be 5 foot. You talking that real shit, I'm gonna respect you.
Yeah, you can be Kendrick Lamar, 5 foot.
Yeah.
4'11.5".
You know what I'm saying? I don't care about that. But when you say that Russia attacked Ukraine unprovoked,
man, they've been calling us for decades.
I know who you are. And so what's scary to me is like all the Ron DeSantis people ignore that. Or they'll make it seem like that's trivial. Like, no, it's the abortion thing that counts. It's like, okay, no, the abortion issue is real.
Yeah, but it's like a dog whistle. They don't even see it. That's what it's a dog whistle for him. They don't see it.
I think they see it. I think they see it. I think
they see it, but like the Republicans, they're not like really
you mean like the voters.
The voters. They're not hip to what he's saying.
No, they know. Yeah. They know, dude. It's like, it's just so cultish. Like everybody's got their own little, it's WWE. It's like sports. Your team just got their ass kicked. 3 nights in a row. But you still a Chiefs fan. You know, you're just a diehard Chiefs fan. I'm a Mahomes fan. The Chiefs' offensive line is they good, man. They not good.
You should have used the Dallas Cowboys as an example.
He's a good example, right?
Yeah, that's a better example.
Or the New York Giants.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Right. But politics the same way.
Right.
So once I'm on the DeSantis team, now I'm DeSantis. I got to ride for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like with Trump, if he says something that I don't like, I'll bring a fair criticism to him. He's not beyond reproach.
Right.
He was touched by God.
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely does separate him from the rest.
Mm-hmm.
He was touched by God.
Mm-hmm.
The man had 3 bullets pass his face.
Yeah.
The man was touched by divine intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So that does make you special if I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm a pro-life Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and I think DeSantis' stance is better than Trump's,
Mm-hmm.
the man was touched by God in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to deny miracles, you got to stand over there.
Right.
I'm going to stand over here because I know a miracle when I see one.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right,
Ron,
you don't miss that shot.
And Ron's not even comfortable with what the body God gave him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you can't talk to me about Christianity.
Right.
No, for real. You're not even
Yeah.
comfortable with the height that God made you.
Yeah.
You still wrestling with those type of identity
With those things.
insecurities.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can see it in his mannerisms too, is when they asked him about his stance on and he looked down to the rest of and
Yeah, I noticed
Vivek
that.
was the only, and y'all talk about his border and xenophobia and all that. And Vivek the Indian, he the only one who stood on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Vivek is the greatest, but I'm just saying, Ron, you ain't even meeting the Vivek standard.
Yeah, because every time they asked a question, he had to look at everybody else before he answered.
Now, imagine me up there. First of all, they'd have to kick me out because I'm not even letting nobody else really talk.
Uh-huh.
I'm a filibuster at the debate.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna let it act like it's cordial. This shit ain't cordial to me.
Yeah. Right.
This motherfucker is liar, Nikki Haley, the neocon. I don't even want to hear her talk. I will refuse to let a neocon talk at the debate.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would have did it. Chris Christie, you're fat as fuck. Now don't talk to me about the overall well-being of the American people. You are too fat to talk to me about general well-being, health, wellness. You are not well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not a healthy weight. Mm-hmm. That is ridiculous. A grown man. Am I lying?
Look at me. A lot of people say I'm in shape, but I feel like a fat, disgusting human being.
Man, look at dude. Chris Christie's got the belt. He's got the belt up around the waist where the below the equator is the same as the above the equator.
Right.
He got the same belly.
He pretending that's his waistline.
But he got the equator going, bro. He got the globe body going. And he got the audacity to be pompous.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying fat people can't have an opinion. Look at the below the waist. The below the waist is this bigger than the above the waist. And
That is crazy.
Come on, man.
He got hips like a woman.
This is
your comments about DeSantis. I hear a lot of people, they have those same comments for Vance.
Like reservations about him?
Yeah.
Yeah, they should.
Mm.
They should have reservations.
He totally flip-flopped on Trump.
Well,
he said he was the biggest threat to democracy, that he was a new Hitler and all that.
Yeah. I mean, look, people should have reservations about everybody who steps up on the public stage. Mm-hmm. I'm not vouching for, again, I said Donald Trump was touched by God.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that they marshaled up the most resources in recent American history to stop him from becoming president. So you show me who your enemies are and it says something about you.
Mm-hmm.
And his enemies and my enemies are obviously the same. So, but you still got to watch him.
Mm-hmm.
You got to watch him. Watch me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm confident in that. I can say that because I'm confident that my actions is gonna reflect, something true.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you should watch Vance. Who is Vance to be beyond reproach?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not in that. That's a MAGA cult.
Mm-hmm.
Now what a lot of people are doing is they're defending him against the liberals' attacks on him, which is warranted because they're just attacking him.
Yeah.
Because he rolled with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Before, when he was talking bad about Trump, they had no problem with him. He was part of, I think, matter of fact, he was part of that early sort of Republicans against Trump crew that the liberals loved to repost, retweet, bring on CNN. It's like, here's a Republican, Kissinger, saying, Kissinger or whatever. But people can have genuine conversions. You know what I mean? So and that's what politics is all about.
Yeah.
I don't like litmus tests and purity tests for the reason that, cool, if you want to have that opinion and be skeptical, cool. But at the end of the day, politics is about conversion. Now, what I don't accept is we're going to go conversion light. And that's the math they play of politics. Is like, well, if you're saying conversion, then you should wiggle on your moral and ethical stance on abortion. No, I'm going to tell you the real about abortion. The real is we don't want to force God and Christianity on people because it's not Christian, not because it's not liberal. That's the actual answer, you know. And it's the same with, you know, like Vance, like and Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, you know, a lot Donald Trump. Right. You know, he was a Democrat. So if you know if Vance can't change his position, then I can't let Trump change his position either. Right. So I'm letting Vance change his position, but I'm watching him. And I'm watching him like a hawk.
Yeah, I like what he said out there in Germany about freedom of speech and how far left they went out there.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm watching him. And I say all that to say I'm watching him like a hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he got that neocon thing brewing. I could feel it.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I can just feel it on him. And if there's one person who's going to be the guy, we know back from the Reagan and Bush story. And I watched that VP.
Yeah.
It's very, very tactful to put somebody in the VP spot who's favorable.
Right.
And,
like George W. Bush.
Well, and Donald Trump is not a young man. Right? Lyndon B. Johnson, that's right. It's another good example. But Donald Trump's not a young man. And look, I like Vance's story. You know, come from a hard blue-collar working, you know, he says all the right things. That's cool. But again, you know, when I see pictures with him with the yarmulke on, you know, but bring up that picture if you can. You know.
What is up with that? Why do you, when we go to Israel, like we got invited to Israel, I said, hell no, I ain't going. I don't support what's going on out there. But whenever I see somebody, a politician or Republican, or to walk down certain areas of that country down the street, you have to wear that yarmulke.
Oh, you have to?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't seem very American.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to wear that. I had a friend of mine who went there. For you to even approach that, you have to have that yarmulke on.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I don't like that. But I'm not here to, you know, be able to tell the people of Israel what their tradition should be or the Jews or what their tradition should be. That's cool. All I'm saying is Israel shouldn't receive any foreign aid without conditions.
Right.
And the conditions are we need to be off every side of the war. And anybody who's in favor of continuing giving aid to Israel without clarifying who our enemies and who our friends are, people should be skeptical. People should have reservations of at least. And that being said, look, Donald Trump picked him. And I thought RFK would have been but people say that about RFK. They'll go, well, look what he said on this or that, you know, you know, and now it's you know, it's give and take whatever. If it was me, people would be like, you know, I saw on my Real America's Voice show the other day in the comments in the chat, somebody goes, he wears a beard. That's like Muslim. That's not American. He's got to clean up his image. His watch is too big. It's like, dude, I have the biggest hands in the history of the NBA Combine. You want me to wear a regular watch? It's like a woman's watch on my wrist. Yeah. Right. Which you wouldn't mind. You wouldn't mind a man who wears a woman's watch. And now I'm skeptical of you. Right. Do you know how to tell what a watch is supposed to look on a man's, you know, but I'm just saying everybody's going to have stuff you could complain about.
Can't please everybody.
Vance is a much better pick than DeSantis. I'll give him that. Yeah. I think the base that he comes from, like just in his rise, even in Ohio, you know, I think he's much closer to the genuine America First and MAGA movement than DeSantis is. And I know DeSantis is gearing up. He's going to try and make a run at it in 28.
He's a horrible debater. He looked horrible on that debating stage. He's like a totally different man. He's like, he was questioning everything he said. But before we let you go, I want to ask you about Trump serving I don't know whether to believe it or not, but he's trying to serve a third term. They proposing legislation where he can.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if he can get that done, let's do that. No, seriously. Yeah, they can say what they want. Oh, tyranny. Oh, he's done democracy. There go democracy.
You still got to vote for him, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, you still got to vote for him. And here's the thing. They don't have a problem with President Xi being president for life. They want to keep getting their, you know.
About Netanyahu, too, yeah.
They want, you can't even say that. I mean, again. But, you know, they don't have a problem getting their, you know, their bedazzled iPhone cases from some, you know, some sweatshop there in China under President Xi's rule, right? And he's been president. He now named himself president for life. They don't even have private elections in China. The elections are actually surveilled. No, for real.
That's crazy.
Where they got cameras where you go to vote. They got cameras, and you don't have a private like booth. Your vote's not taken in private.
Yeah, everything's on camera.
Yeah. So there are no elections in China. Right. So if I'm the Democrats or the liberals or I'm the mainstream media or I'm any of these multinational corporate elites, square the circle for me. How are you going to say that Donald Trump can't make a play to get a third term, but you're okay with our entire supply chain being dependent on a country that has no real freedom of anything?
Right.
So, you just can't run that on me. You could run that on them dudes around the corner, but you ain't running that over here. If Donald Trump, and if it's voted on and he can get it done, now what you're going to find is when he really tries to push that, how many Republicans in that House and Senate really don't like him.
Right.
You're going to see them come out the woodwork then.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a lot of them. So we had a problem in the House and the Senate, a crisis of America first in the House and the Senate before Trump won. And everybody puts their, like Emmer, MAGA. I support Trump. You don't support Trump.
Right.
Anybody who raised that debt, if you vote, here's the dividing line. It's coming up in March. Continued resolution. Debt ceiling. Remember,
you're going to raise it again.
Speaker Mike Johnson said that we needed to kick the can down the road 90 days to allow Trump to get a look at the numbers. And now we're going to see. If we raise that debt ceiling 1 penny, I got a problem with it.
Right.
Because then, in the continued resolution, Donald Trump's going to have Joe Biden's fiscal budget for the whole year, the whole first year of his term. And that was the excuse they gave, that we want Trump to be able to get in, and that's why we're kicking the can down the road. We're just going to keep kicking it, raising the debt ceiling. With 36, hey, what's 40 trillion? What's 50 trillion?
Right.
$172 trillion unfunded liabilities. The total net worth of the country is about $130 trillion. We got a ways to go. Bannon was talking about the financial literacy piece of how people don't understand how these markets and how the economies go. When they go quick. It goes bad, it goes all at once. Look at the housing market crash in 2008. They had the strippers had four mansions, on a cash-based profession. And they were just financing anybody. And then they were refinancing the loans and selling them in Wall Street for net worth and then trading it for cash. You feel me? I mean, the criminal scam, Ponzi scheme. So Donald Trump, I got a lot of faith in what he's done so far. I love the North American bloc. I think we should just annex Mexico. I don't even think we should mess around. Shine bomb the communists down there. We should annex it. Just take it. Canada, just take it.
Just take it.
Yeah, just you're your 52nd state. You're now in our jurisdiction. We got to secure our borders. Our borders includes your borders. Sorry, you didn't show us that when I wasn't in office, you didn't show us that you really had the border as a priority. So now we're taking your shit too. Greenland, there's just a big ass block of ice anyway. A lot of natural resources. Y'all ain't got no army.
Right.
We protect y'all sovereignty anyway. Y'all just kind of out there in limbo.
That's funny. These people
international limbo, just kind of out there, just kind of we're Greenland. I'm not saying they don't have a people and a nation, but you're under our protection anyway.
Yeah, they're not a sovereign nation. They need our help. Without us, they're nothing.
We're taking your shit. You coming with us. Central America, we might push down into Central America.
Yeah.
Panama Canal.
Take Colombia.
South America.
Yeah.
Who y'all? What y'all got going on down there? Whatever we got to do so that the Chinese ain't putting police stations in Mexico, or that the Chinese, the Chinese. See, and this is another real liberal lie. The Chinese, everybody's approaching. Look how fast they build the airports. You fly into Beijing and the airport's so clean, you could eat off the ground. Other end of the story is Fauci says the Chinese, deplorables are eating pangolins. So, I mean, which one is it? China, is it cool or is it not cool? Do I need shots to go there? Or is it, am I going to get kidnapped and eaten, or what's going on in China? But the airports are so pretty, right? We got this real strange obsession with architecture and building technology. So because they can do that well, even under slave labor, fine, right? But if you talk about neo-colonialism, nobody's more neo-colonialist than the modern Chinese regime, the CCP. Recolonizing Africa, starting to try and colonize South America. European Union's already their bitch, right? And so, the threat of the Chinese, and to be clear, people got to understand this. Our entire military projection platform has become obsolete overnight. I don't even know how they're still I don't even know how they're still justifying the budgets. You know, because we're going to a era of warfare where all big aircraft carriers are, you know, something that's going to sink real fast. Costs a lot of money, take a lot of time to build, and it's going to sink real quick when the shit starts flying. You know, when the hypersonic missiles start flying.
Right.
Pete Hicks has said this on Sean Ryan's show. He said the last 10 or so times that the Pentagon has done war games with China, we lose every time in the war game. And that's partly the reason, is because our projection platform is all based on our aircraft carriers.
Right.
And I say this before I go, I'm sorry to, you know, I just talk though, but this goes back, you know, we're not European. We're American. And our entire identity has become a post-World War. What basically happened was Winston Churchill and FDR did a deal where the British Empire would basically relinquish their colonial rule on paper, although all these countries still pay their homage and sovereignty to the crown, but they would trade that colonial for help, and we helped them. And then America and America's military prowess would become the new face of the modern re-globalized monetary system and sort of geopolitical, you know, landscape. And the British were just playing us. We're a young nation, man. British, and the sun never sets on the British Empire. That's why I was telling Belzerian. These people, they're not stupid. Yeah, we never forget who started central banking. Yeah, it was the Rothschilds who came up with the idea, but it was the British. It was the crown. It was the British Empire who, in the European, you know, monarchy that empowered them. That said, yeah, this is a good idea. Yeah, we're going to go from chattel slavery to wage slavery and interest. They couldn't have done it. You couldn't have had a bank in that European era if the monarchy and the ruling establishment didn't okay it. And so our assumption is that these Jewish bankers were smarter than them, that they tricked them. Right. Okay, well then why are you paying all your money still to the European Union and you say you're against white supremacy? Yeah, they still got you. And so, and as I was saying earlier, our foreign policy, right, is like, it's all Great Britain's foreign policy. It's even our military, right? This goes back to, you know, the British Navy was the greatest force ever seen on Earth. And so we became a naval power. Why? Because we needed to be able to sail to protect them, right? Right. And that's why China's a land-based power. They're not a now they're becoming a Navy power, but they've always been a land-based power, right? And so, Halford John Mackinder, this is like 1913. Halford John Mackinder was a British intellectual who wrote a treatise called The Geographical Pivot of History. And in it, he said, basically he's telling the crown, he's warning the crown, the British government, warfare is going to change. Technology's coming. He called it the Afro-Eurasian World Island, which is essentially the Eastern Hemisphere. He says, he who controls Eastern Europe controls the heartland. He who controls the heartland has domination over the Eurasian World Island. He gave 3 theaters of war that would determine the domination of the Eurasian World Island: the Sino-Japanese theater. That's our war with China. The Russo-German alliance, and a rise of a totalitarian and fascist German, dictatorship at the time, the German war machine, the Nazis. So all 3 theaters of war that have been the springboard for all major world wars were detailed out in the early 1900s by this geopolitical theory. And what he was essentially saying is, you have to be able to walk to the resources you need in this changing landscape of technology. If you can't walk to what you need, you got problems, because boats sink quick. Right. And so our entire geopolitical...
I realized that in that movie Dunkirk.
Right.
I was like, man, why are you even making these boats?
Right.
They blowing a hole
So now you see what Donald Trump is doing. He's undoing that Atlanticist, Eurocentric, Mackinder, geopolitical elite, Ivy League elite theory. And he's saying, no, all the shit that we need is where we're going to walk to. We're going to walk to our shit. You walk to your shit. And we're done defending stuff that because it's just sinking. It's deflating us. It's inflating us, but it's deflating it's the Roman Empire. right? The Roman Empire got too big. They were defending outposts that they couldn't defend anymore. Before you knew it, the Visigoths, the Vandals, all these hordes of Germanic tribes, were at the Roman gates, and there weren't enough Roman legions to defend the empire, to stop them. And that's essentially what America's become. We got millions of condoms in Mozambique, but we can't stop the Venezuelans from, not even them, the Chinese. You got 20,000 Chinese national. What the fuck y'all do? I thought the airports in Beijing, what you coming to America for? Right. Why we got, okay, the people from Mozambique is riddled with HIV. I got you. They show up from Mozambique. Yo, look, I got the condom y'all sent me. That shit ain't working. This shit's still bad out here. We still down bad in Mozambique. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I got you. I can follow that theory. Yeah. Right. So I get why the Africans are showing up, or the people from, wherever, it's, Yemen, war-torn Yemen, the bombs dropping every day. I had to scurry out of there. Yeah. But China? Y'all coming from China too? We got to let y'all in. So we paying y'all and you can let you, no, hell no. Stay your ass in China. Trying to take over. Yeah. You take Taiwan, all that shit. Taiwan, all that shit's China. Yeah. Ukraine, all that shit is Russia. The Middle East is a toss-up. It used to be the Arabian Empire or the Persian Empire. And there's the proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Yeah. The mullahs and the Persians, right? And they're going to duke it out. And then you got Israel, the Kingdom of Israel. And so they got a little three-way, a little face-off going there. Now India's in there somewhere. They got their own juice. Australia, oof, boy, y'all in trouble down under. Yeah, I don't know what to tell y'all. It's a lot. We got to sail a long way across that desert ocean to come help you. Right. You might be China. Right. That Chinese Aussie mix might be the new breed of the future.
Yeah,
but
Australia. Australia's got a lot of Asians there.
Look. And you see what their flag is what? It's a British flag, damn near. It's a replica of it.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all are on your own. Yeah. And, Trump's not saying that because he's a very kind-hearted man. The president's a good and kind-hearted man. The next generation of MAGA, I'm not playing that shit. Yeah. You go on your own. Right. Now, when I say it for real, we're not sailing young Americans, our sons and daughters to come defend this empire anymore. Your people got to find the same resiliency and the same sort of spirit of independence that our 1776 Americans found. And you better find it. And you better find it quick, because China not playing. Right. And they have a mindset to expand. So
you think Trump is serious about Greenland, Canada?
Oh yeah, I mean that's coming with us. Yeah. Yeah. Come on, give that up. Yeah, give it up.
I can see you, the president of the United States, saying, "I got to take this."
Yeah, come on, y'all serious? Come on, Greenland. How about this? We're gonna have a 7-day. War game, military games, and then we'll see.
Make that president.
But it don't have to be hostile, right? Because really, Greenland's we already protect their sovereignty. It's just a formality. Yeah. And really, what it's about is the jurisdiction. Whose federal government jurisdiction they're under. That
Denmark, right, or something like that.
You see what I'm saying? Right. So again, European. So we chew over here, and so the Europeans need our money, and now you need our money, and now Russia's up there playing around with their nuclear submarines in the Arctic, and what we gonna let Russia? So we're not gonna let Russia take Ukraine, but we're gonna let Russia take the Arctic.
Yeah.
And
I ain't working.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is just basic shit. These ain't even the hard questions yet. This ain't even the complex shit. This is I could call these balls and strikes easy. Greenland, you come on with us. That's us. Yeah. Central America, you can get your bags packed. It might not be too long before, because what is Central America? A little tiny little shit.
Yeah, shitholes. They take it. You take it. The Gulf of Mexico. You made it a Gulf. It should be Gulf of America, right?
Who do Mexico think they? Who?
Yeah, their GDP is.
I'm Mexican. For everybody out there who like, oh well, you don't got no. I'm Mexican.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I'm Black, Mexican, and Norwegian.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I got that multicultural thing happening. I can speak to a lot of, like, my grandmother looks whiter than most white folks. She's Norwegian. I ain't gonna get no more.
Yeah, that's the white of the white.
Hitler and them wish they could be Norwegian. You know what I'm saying? They don't even. Right. True white. The Vikings, the blonde hair, blue eyes, the pure race. My grandmother's blonde hair with blue eyes.
No shit.
Right, but she's half black. Her father was black. Her mother was first generation immigrant from Norway. On my mother's side, dad black. Grandmother first generation immigrant from Mexico. Aguas Calientes, Mexico.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the Rangel family. Yeah, started a church on the west side, Our Lady of Guadalupe. When my grandmother died, there were 3,000 Mexicans in the streets in the west side of St. Paul. Yeah, so rich Mexican tradition. Girls in my family had quinceañeras. It's like the rite of passage when the young Mexican woman turns 15. My daughter's gonna have a quinceañera. And all that being said, Mexico, you coming with us. The Gulf of America, baby. It's what it is. It's all good. You're the 52nd, 53rd state, depending on when Canada goes. And it's all good. You can keep your Mexican tradition. Right. Keep your piñatas and the tostadas and the chalupas and all of the, the tamales. And we love it. The sopa. We love all that.
Soapies,
you know what I'm saying? All of that. But we're not letting China put police stations down in your in your country.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We're not letting them set up short-range ballistic missile platforms in your country. And you
can't do that.
Nah.
Like the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Not doing it. So, and the cartels too. It's a terrorist organization. I love it. Hunt them down. Hunt them down. They kill so many people. It's ungodly. And it's just a shit. So you go down there to McAllen's on the other side of the border there, El Paso or Juarez. It's like Beirut out down there. You can see the gunshots firing from across the border.
Yeah, I went there with my wife because she's from Mexico City. I was going there to fix her papers and stuff like that. And when I drove through Ciudad Juarez, I was like, man, people actually live here. Houses are like they're made out of cardboard.
Come on, man.
It's like the poorest thing. I said, man.
And they gonna act like we doing them bad by coming in. So which one you want? You want us to send, this is what I'm saying, to end. The America First movement is really rooted in our foreign policy. All we're saying is you want us to send the condoms to Mozambique, but you want us to let the Mexicans live under, straight chaos right there, a couple miles from our border. Right. So, you start to see it all becomes a game to really undermine this country and steal our money.
Right.
It's like if the people in Mozambique need condoms, I can't let the Mexicans live under the cartel's rule. That don't add up. No, we got to go down there and handle that shit. You got all these people, the 78th parallel, right? South Korea and North Korea.
Yeah.
Hey. See,
I don't get Koreans not liking Koreans.
Hey, I get it. The Bloods and the Crips, but look, this is what I'm saying.
That's what it is.
I get how a beef will start, but I'm saying is this. If we really want to see that, again, go back to Democrat Liberal one, just like, we said we were going to bring freedom and democracy all around the world. Peace through strength, right? That was the pitch after World War II.
Yeah.
A lot of people say really just, protecting Israel and you're just stealing money, right?
Right.
Okay, and there's an argument for that, right? But at least in theory, that's what we said we wanted to do. We wanted to bring peace and democracy all around the world, peace through strength, have a strong military, and we're going to export democracy and freedom to all these places, right? Well, the first thing you're going to do if you want to give somebody the American brand of freedom is you're going to give them the First Amendment, right? What country out there in this national interest American project of global peace and freedom did we give the First Amendment to? And that tells you the whole story right there, because if they can't empower themselves and have guns themselves to protect themselves, they'll always need us.
Yeah, right.
So what we want to do now is in the Donald Trump era, I hope, or in the Royce White MAGA era. That motherfucker's coming. That Royce White is, I ain't break out the three-piece suit yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
In that Royce White era, we're going to tell the South Koreans, here are the guns. Give your citizens guns. That's going to be your first line of defense against a North Korean incursion. Give these Taiwanese people, the citizens, guns. Not short-range ballistic missiles. That's too much. Now that is an act of war.
Yeah.
But give them guns. Let your people and your people's sense of national identity and pride and borders be the defense against tyranny. And watch, people gonna be slow to come across that border when they know they act like our aircraft carriers are why people don't invade America. That's not true. Come on, nobody invades America because we got more guns than people.
Yeah,
and they know you can't occupy it. Look how hard it was for us to occupy Afghanistan and Iraq. It was hard. And
when we left, it's like it was never there.
Come on, it's because it's hard to do. We got more guns. We got 4 times, 5 times the guns in America everywhere else combined. You ain't coming here and occupying America. So that's one of the first greatest national defense we have is the First Amendment. Another good one is 2 big oceans, and we're going to use them.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to get South Korea off of the, we always got troops stationed there in South Korea.
Right.
We always got troops stationed there in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
We always got troops stationed somewhere in, in Ethiopia. It's like, come on, man. We got to, and they con our young people into doing it because they're young, broke. Some of them really want to serve the country, but some of them just want to be able to get their education paid for.
Right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Some want some health care, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's understandable. And then you find yourself in some war that's unrighteous. And then you coming back with PTSD and they don't even want to help you.
Yeah. Right.
Then we don't even take care of them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Take the money you're giving for the condoms in Mozambique and give it to the veterans.
Right.
That's really being pro-veteran.
Yeah. Right.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Stop giving the Europeans, 3% of our GDP to defend them against Russia. Russia don't want no smoke. What they like, man,
just leave us alone.
Putin like, no, hey, we wanted to join you. They wouldn't even let us. There's another great example.
Yeah.
They didn't let the Russians join NATO so it could be a continual excuse to fund the military.
Mm-hmm.
Then Russia's like, man, we'll join NATO. Nah, scoffed at them, rebuffed them.
Yeah.
This was Clinton and Bush. Nah, we don't want the Russians. And we got scared of the Russians, communists.
They joined NATO. There's no purpose for having NATO now.
There you go. Yeah, right.
Hey, Royce, man, this has been great, man. Where can people find you?
Shit, I do my podcast. Please call me crazy. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Central. I think I'm gonna move it to 7 p.m. Central. And then I'm on Real America's Voice on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern. I think I might start doing a daily show on Real America's Voice. So I'm everywhere. We run the podcast on X every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So
okay,
yeah. I appreciate it.
It's just under your name on X.
On X is you mean you look my name up, yeah. My handle is Highway 30. That's where Ames is. Ames, Iowa.
Highway 30.
I had that handle since I was in college. I couldn't change it because it was verified.
Highway 30.
They wouldn't let me change my username. I got to call X and see if they'll finally let me change it. But my Iowa State people be mad. If I ever run for president, it's going to be fun to caucus there in Iowa first.
Right.
It's like my second home, right? It's Ames, Iowa. Shout out to Iowa State. My Cyclones doing well this year.
Yeah.
Top 10, top 5 they were for one of the first times in school history. So I'm proud of them guys.
Yeah.
All
right, bro. Hey.
My man.
Cool, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah.